All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour one of Jon and Jim, and we've got a packed show for you over the next 4 hours. We do have Aztec basketball tickets to give away. This will be Saturday. The fact that I didn't have a heart attack last night, and I don't know if there was any video. I know Ben Fadden replied to one of my tweets saying, like, you look like you're going to die during this game.
Yeah, you didn't see yourself at the end of that game?
No, I didn't see myself.
Like on a monitor or anything?
No.
No one sent you a picture?
No one.
I'll have to show you during break.
Was I, you know me.
Because you had your hands in like praying position, and you were like, your eyes were very beady, like very big.
It shouldn't surprise you.
And it was right before, it was right after San Jose State hit a 3-pointer to cut it to three. And you are freaking out, dude.
Well, it's like it's a high wire act. You're trying to make the NCAA tournament, and you can't lose any of these games. And San Diego State won that game last night. We'll get into it. So we have Wyoming tickets against the Aztecs for Saturday. We have Creed tickets to give away. We will. By the way, I just needed to have a moment. Like, what is it called? I just need like a moment. So I decided to have a bracketologist on. Like when Aaron might come to you and be like, Jim, I need a massage. So you're just like, happens. I get it, Aaron. Like you're stressed out, your back hurts.
My neck, my back.
And she's like, and you get her an hour-long massage because that's, or she goes to a massage. She just needs it.
I just do it myself.
You do a massage for Aaron?
She's like, can you just rub my back a little bit?
But sometimes she needs like an actual masseuse.
Like an actual professional?
Exactly.
Not some hack like me.
So I need Rocco Miller, who is a great bracketologist. We've had him on over the years. He'll be back with us at 4 p.m. Chase Fischer is the CEO of Blenders, and he will once again be working with the Mesa Foundation on a sunglass campaign for San Diego State men's and women's basketball, and he'll join us coming up at 4:30. Looking forward to that. David J. Matt Friars, let's take a look at this Padres system because they will rely heavily on it in 2025. And we start with that. I don't know if this would count as being part of the Alexander and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad offseason. But Hassan Kim has signed with Tampa Bay, as you likely know by now. 2 years, $29 million. I could easily argue he's not needed with this current roster if they don't trade away pieces, Jim, with Xander Bogaerts and Luis Ariz and Jay Cronenworth. I think that completes your starting infield from short, second to first base in some order. So I could absolutely argue that. But I know what people are going to say. They said the same thing about Profar. How could you pay $14 million a year? He's not worth it. And they're going to say the same thing here. How could you pay $14 million a year? He's not worth it. When he was a valuable piece. Was he the best piece they had? No, he had highs and lows a little bit like Jerks and Profar, truthfully. But, I mean, it's another player. You think about a team that won 93 games last year. I know he was hurt late, but he was a regular for 100-plus games last year. Mm-hmm. In fact, they moved Xander Bogaerts' position over him. Jerks and Profar was more than a regular last year. He was an all-star. So you've lost basically, 2/9 of your starting lineup in Profar and Kim. I'm not saying it can't be overcome. It absolutely can. I thought he might get more money. I know he's coming off injury, but basically a 1-year deal for Ha-Seong Kim. He's got an option for the second year, 1 year, $14 million. I thought it was a decent deal for Tampa Bay, truthfully.
Same AAV as his Profar buddy Jerks and Profar.
Great. His defense is worth a lot, right? That's what the numbers suggest, right? His WAR is accumulated in defense. He's been a really good defensive player.
It makes me wonder what he would have gotten if he was fully healthy.
Dude, he lost $50 million.
Oh, easily.
Right? I think
for 80. Who did we have on? Was it Dan Zimborski?
It was. He said he could have been a $100 million player.
Like if he played to the level he played at in 2023. In 2024 and stayed healthy, he was like, Dansby Swanson type of contract.
Which is mid 100.
Yeah. So he went from potentially going around 70, 80, 90 million to a 1 year, because he has the opt-out after this season. But 2 years, 29 million, 14 million per year, 14.5 million per year. It's another key piece the Padres lost, which is not necessarily like big for on field, but in that clubhouse and the morale of the team and the vibes of the team. And, that.
What's Manny going to do?
Man,
does he hang out with anyone else?
That's one of his best buddies on the team is Ha-Seong Kim. He loves Ha-Seong Kim. When they show
the dugout, he's only with Ha-Seong Kim. I've never seen him with another person.
I know.
For 4 straight years.
Well, his production on the field was solid. Always up and down. He had his moments. His best moments with the Padres were during the middle half of 2023 when He became the leadoff man, and he
was really good.
Like he rocket ship. And you thought to yourself, oh, if he can put this offensive production with his defensive production that he's giving you every single day, which was a gold glove, platinum glove level, wow. And then 2024 happened, and he again reverted back to his old ways, offensively, and then defensively, going back to shortstop, he just was never the same player. So I hope he does well in Tampa, but it is another free agent loss for the Padres. And this, to me, kind of solidifies the fact and confirms that their shortstop on opening day will be Xander Bogaerts.
100%. And I think and we'll get into this later this hour, I think their starting lineup and starting rotation and initial bullpen they'll turn to, they probably have, again, a team that's capable of being pretty good. The depth is going to come into question with the Padres in 2025. And maybe that's just professional sports, but like to your point, okay, was he the best hitter in baseball history? No, he's an average major league hitter at best, but he really did compile WAR, right? Wins above replacement.
Somehow it's like he had a 4-WAR season.
Right. So like what? In 4 years in San Diego, like this is crazy to me. Listen to this, Jim. And again, you could argue the merits of WAR. Maybe you don't buy it. That's fine. In 4 seasons with San Diego, he had a 15.3.
Wow.
Fernando Tatis Jr.'s career WAR is 21. Now, he's missed a ton of time. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, to completely discredit Ha-Seong Kim, and listen, you and I have been critics over the years of Kim. I think he's a brilliant defensive player. I think he could have provided more for them on offense. I don't think he's a critical piece, but I do think he's a piece that has value. And I think here's how you know he's probably a piece that has value. Tampa Bay is the preeminent franchise that recognizes value, right? You're squeezing something out of a player, and that's a lot of money for Tampa Bay. But I'm just saying, like, Profar's walked out the door with his nice WAR, and Kim, I know he was already a 3 WAR last year, so that's left the building. So Xander Bogaerts, we're calling on you, man. Like, there's no one else to turn to. Like, you got to be a 4 WAR player, because that's who Ha-Seong Kim has been the last 4 years in San Diego.
And isn't that wild to think that a guy who his OPS was around 700 didn't really hit for much power, didn't hit for high average. His on-base percentage was not great, but the value he brought to a team is pretty high. I thought defensively he dropped off last year.
He did.
He did. I think his best year by far was 2023. And maybe that's what the Rays are banking on, is you can give them a 2023 type of season where he kind of put it all together and you thought, okay, this is what you're going to get from Ha-Seong Kim going forward, and hopefully he would like get better. But for $14 million a year, just that never going to happen. Never, ever. I saw people out there saying, well, bring back Ha-Seong Kim on a 1-year prove it deal. No, never going to happen. If the Tampa Bay Rays are giving him potentially $29 million, if he opts in and doesn't opt out, bro, no, there was no chance if the Padres said, hey, can you come back for a 1-year, $5 million deal? No way.
Well, here's the other thing, too. Honestly, I'd prefer if the Padres have $20 million in some bank account, maybe in like Switzerland or somewhere, I'd prefer they don't spend it on Ha-Seong Kim. With all due respect to Kim, I think Kim's a good player, but I think the Padres have needs well beyond shortstop. You've already tied up all this money in Xander Bogaerts. Why go tie up more money in shortstop? You have Jay Cronenworth. You need him to perform. You have Luis Ariz as it is right now. He's going to be in your infield. If I'm going to tie up $29 million, I have a number of ways to do it. The first thing I would do is go out and get a starting pitcher. Or I would trade to acquire a pitcher's salary, and I would use the money there. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't spend it on Ha-Seong Kim. Now I would spend it on a left fielder. If I had $29 million, I would have gone to Jurickson Profar. Now that's not 42. Maybe they did go to him with 29, but that's not 42. But if I had $29 million, I was Preller, I wouldn't have given it to Kim. And that's just because it's not an area of specific need at this exact moment.
Well, they have money because they just spent it the other day on
$3 million.
Diaz.
3 is different than 29. Like you said, 5 different for Kim is different than 14 for Kim.
Yeah, but the notion that they have zero money.
Well, we've said, of course, they don't have no money. I don't think they're like, if we move a couple hundred hot dogs, that frees up $180 more.
If we raise the prices of beer from $20 to $50, maybe that will help us.
I mean, maybe Jim, some of it is what Preller has said. I mean, I think there's probably some honesty in, there's been off seasons we've done things early. There's off seasons we do it late. And he's like, I like the core of the team. I don't disagree with that. I like the core of the team too. I don't not like it. I like the core of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we'll talk about this coming up. Is there enough depth? You never have enough depth. That's the problem. Like, by the time you get to the postseason, if you're fortunate to get there, you're running out of pitching. The Sean Manaeas and Mike Clevengers of, you know what I mean? Like, the depth thing, yes, over 162 can absolutely be exposing. Are they on a knife's edge that if Yu Darvish misses 15 starts because of back pain, are they on a knife's edge? Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like maybe most teams are in that spot.
Especially in baseball. Name me or show me one team that their opening day roster was the exact same as the end of the year.
Never. I don't think it's ever happened.
Never happens.
It's never happened.
Never happens. It's in all
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah.
Like
the Niners, I mean, it's football. They change players every week, right? Guys go on IR every week.
I think the closest to where you could have the same roster on your opening day as the end of the year is basketball.
Yeah, NBA, yeah.
Because like we've seen that before where
stay healthy.
Yeah, you stay healthy and you're gonna have some tweaks and you're gonna be hurt during the season and whatnot, but in large part, you can have the same roster when you start on opening day to the end of the year.
Right.
But in baseball,
never.
It is always a flux situation and there's things happening all the time. So yeah, the depth of this team is going to be a huge question mark going forward. And, losing Ha-Seong Kim for this money, I understand it.
Yep.
That was never going to happen. But you also have to say, yes, they did lose a depth of this team.
All right, so on the other side, we have official projections now in the San Diego Padres for 2025. Just 2 weeks out from spring training, just days out from FanFest. Dan Zimborski, who joins us often, has put out his official projections for Fangraphs. We'll share those with you on the other side. Again, still ahead today, we have great giveaways. Aztec tickets for Saturday. Creed tickets for this summer at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Great guests today, including David J. from Mad Friars in the state of the Padres organization. So we're here until 6. Settle in. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim. All right, Jon and Jim, back with you. San Diego Sports 760. I was about to say San Diego State. San Diego Sports 760 has 13 chances to win $1,000 every weekday with the grand in your hand cash contest. That's every hour, 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. Listen for the keyword at the top of every hour, then enter it at sportssd.com. Presented by Palomar Solar, your trusted partner for solar, batteries, and roofing. Great giveaways today. Aztec tickets. We've got Creed tickets. Jim was singing Creed yesterday.
Can you take
me higher?
There you go.
Yeah.
Good job.
I was a fan. Was I? Yeah, I was a fan. Yeah. I've listened to music a lot.
No, you haven't. the
I
only
like how you had to second guess yourself.
What
was I?
I mean, it's a great summer concert.
Anytime I think of Creed, I think of what was it, Thanksgiving halftime show for the Dallas Cowboys? Where it just was electric. And every time I think of Creed, I think
That's
of
what you're thinking.
I think
know
of
exactly
that
what you're talking about.
halftime show where they had like people flying around the stadium and the lead singer for Creed is just, I mean, he is into it.
He's into it.
I remember he was like, was it Scott Stapp was his name? He was like a diehard Marlins fan.
Who's a diehard Marlins fan?
He is.
Besides him.
No, nobody. But he wrote some really horrible, cheesy song about the Marlins once. And that's what I always think of now when I think of Creed is he wrote a really horrible song about the Marlins.
All right, we have Creed tickets to give away. We'll do that coming up later in the show. All right, so Dan Zimborski, friend of the show, writes this lengthy piece with the official Zips projections of the San Diego Padres.
Zips.
Which is just basically what the team projects to do in 2025. And here's the important paragraph. Add everything up, and Zips projects the Padres to finish with a win total in the high 80s.
Oh,
everything's
great.
fine.
Everything's fine.
Enough to be one of the prime wild card contenders with an outside shot at upsetting the Dodgers.
What?
That's in the division. An outside shot of upsetting the Dodgers in the division. He then writes, they'd make for an extremely dangerous opponent in the postseason. Still, it's a fragile high 80s projection with the very preliminary Zips projected standings pegging San Diego. Listen to this. It's italicized with a very low floor. So ceiling, high 80s.
Which
80,
is,
let's say 88. Just throw that number out.
I would take that.
That's high.
I would sign up for 88 wins in a heartbeat.
So are you willing to go there? That's our ceiling. They're not going to get beyond a ceiling.
According to projections, which are that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I'm kind of on board with that. I don't see 93 wins. That's how everyone feels.
Probably not.
Yeah. All right. So let's just say ceiling 89 then. That's the highest 80 you get. But the fragile floor, what does that look like? Is that mid 70s? High 7? Let's just say, I'll say the high 70s. So basically what Dan Zimborski's saying, and like you said, it's projections. It's not, they have to play this on field. I think he's saying, hey, worst case, this team's winning 79, 80 games. But decent chance they're a contender and they're a tough out in the postseason and they could win 89 games.
Okay. That is what? If everything goes right?
I guess.
If the projections hold, if Jackson Merrill follows up his rookie season with another great year and doesn't have that too big of a drop off.
Yeah.
If Fernando Tatis Jr. has a WAR similar to his 2021 year, where he hit 40 plus home runs,
great,
stays healthy, plays 150 games. Manny Machado has a great year once again, which absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
Xander Bogaerts has a really good season. He has a bounce back year, puts up damn near 4 WAR season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all not going to happen.
No, not that way. You're right.
Like when you ask me, give me the optimistic outlook on the Padres, and I tell you, well, look, you got this. And then what do you tell me? You're like, yeah, okay, and I want $1 million.
It's like hitting Powerball.
Yeah, you got
7 things to hit.
Yeah, and for the 7 things to hit to get to the high 80s mark,
right?
That's a little scary to think about when you break it all down like that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but I mean, honestly, and Fangraphs has been off on this. I mean, they've had years. They said in 2023 the Padres were going to win mid 90s, and they went 82 and 80, and they were under 500 in September. So we get it. It's just projections. It's just a computer. It's just spitting out information. I think it speaks to what we spoke about 10 minutes ago. Their depth is the biggest factor. The thing that will hold them back from reaching projections is that they can't overcome Darvish missing 15 starts. They can't overcome Michael King having a blister. They can't overcome Tatis having an abductor for 30 games. Like that. That's what I'm wondering. I think a year ago you have Solano, you have Peralta, you have I mean, you had a more complete roster, Jerkson Profar, right? It just seems like today they don't have that completed roster. Now it's only January, so maybe it'll look a little different in a month.
But you know what the Zips were last year? They're like it was a big reason why they were as good as they were is because you had Jerkson Profar's projection as like a one war player.
Yeah.
And he put up an all-star season that basically gave you 90% of the production that you would get from Juan Soto at the position, maybe like 80%, but still 85% of a Juan Soto productive year was what Jerkson Profar gave you, which was an all-star season.
Right.
No clue what Jackson Merrill was going to do. He put up almost a 5-war season. I think the projections last year for Jackson Merrill weren't even close to that. So where on this team are you going to get that, like, didn't expect that season?
Well, I may be in left field. I mean, nobody went into last year saying Jerkson Profar was going to have that season. Now, this is more of a wild card, whatever they do in left field. We don't know if they sign someone. We don't know if it's their system like Tirso or Nealis. I think you could potentially have better seasons from both Michael King and Dylan Cease. It's possible. These are elite starting pitchers. They were healthy, though, a year ago. Maybe that's wishful. I think Yu Darvish is a big part of it. Yu Darvish, because of the personal matter, was MIA.
Right.
And he wasn't fully healthy. Now, I don't like counting on 39-year-old starting pitchers. So that would be a concern of mine. And then out of the like Vasquez, Waldron, Brito crew, someone go be good.
Right.
Which is definitely like we weren't counting on Matt Waldron last year and he put together 29 starts. It's all possible. I mean, a lot of it's on Shilton's staff. A lot of it's on Preller and his lieutenants, so to speak. But they're not so far off where you're like, I mean, again, like Miami Marlins don't have Machado. They don't have Tatis. They don't have C. You know what I mean? Like if I was doing a Miami show, I'd be talking about the Dolphins offseason, obviously.
Of course.
But
or the Jimmy Butler drama.
You couldn't spin this. You couldn't spin this to be like, oh, you know what? He projects the Marlins as 73, but I see 90, and here's why. This at least can be spun. So yeah, I could see how they get to an 88 win season.
But I am going to continue to emphasize the fact that the reason why the Padres had 93 wins last year is because they had breakout seasons from guys that were not expected to put up those types of years.
Yeah, you're right.
So my question then is, who on this roster right now is going to be that for this team this year? You know, if we say, all right, Jackson Merrill put up the same year or close to it, Fernando Tatis Jr. have a better season than last year, be healthy, instead of 25 home runs, you hit 35 home runs. Manny puts up his regular 280, 30, 100 RBI season. Xander Bogaerts has a bounce back year. Maybe hits 275 with 15 home runs and 70 RBIs. Okay, that's great. You're going to need more than that. And you're going to need somebody that is not expected to be good or do those things to have a breakout year. And where is that going to come from?
Yeah, that's the question, but it could very well be answered. When Tatis debuted in the big leagues, nobody thought Tatis would be Tatis. When Merrill debuted in the big leagues, nobody thought Merrill would be Merrill. I mean, things happen unexpectedly in sports. You're going to have to basically bet on the Padres. You're going to have to be a glass half full guy to see them get to 89 wins.
Yeah. Rose-colored glasses for.
But I mean, no, Dan Zaborski. I mean, he's just running 10,000 simulations.
Yeah.
I mean, so by running 10,000 simulations, if he says, "Hey, I'm running a high 80 win total for the Padres," I mean, I buy it. I'm not gonna buy my playoff tickets tonight, but I buy that it's absolutely possible that the Padres could have a good year, and if they get into the postseason, they would have what's necessary to win postseason series. I can buy that. I'm not gonna buy it today, but I could see it.
Oh, don't get me wrong. If you just slap down 88 wins, sign up for it right now. I don't care or find out what happens with the roster or who's on the roster or who has good seasons. I am signing for that on the dotted line faster than you can say Jim's an idiot.
Jim's an idiot. 88 wins, second wild card, go to Milwaukee, let's play, or whatever it looks like. All right, on the other side, just another remarkable win for the Aztecs. Just a unbelievable game. I think that's the right word to describe it. We will discuss on the other side what it all means. We've got great giveaways today. Aztec tickets for Saturday, Creed tickets for this summer. David J. from Mad Friars at 5 p.m. on the Padres system. Stay with us. It's Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with the Aztecs. Last night, they had their largest come from behind victories in almost 8 years. Last time was 2017. Last night they trailed by 21 points. They ended up beating San Jose State. Next up, they take on Wyoming Saturday night at Viejas Arena, 5 p.m. tip time, 4 p.m. pregame right here on San Diego Sports 760. And baseball news of the day, Hassan Kim signed a 2-year, $29 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. My Lowe's Rewards Week is coming, and it's kind of a big deal. Members get ready for up to 40% off store-wide on hundreds of items. Join for free today. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms.
All right, Jon and Jim with you. David J. Matt Friars at 5 p.m. First bracketologist of the season, thankfully, will join us today at 4 p.m. I just need to get that off my chest. I need to talk to a bracketologist because if I talk to you, you're like, I don't know. I don't care. All right.
I pretend that I care, and I let you.
You do a bad job pretending.
Yeah, that's right. I don't care. Give me like just the net rankings, and I'll tell you if it's good or bad, and then we'll just move on.
Well, that's the thing. Exactly. So Rocco Miller, really good bracketologist. We've had him on over the years. It's almost February, so I figured we could have a bracketologist on the show, and I'm not here next week, so I wanted to do it this week. Okay. So last night. Last night. So I'm sitting here courtside. I mean, this whole season has been like a good drama because it's really been like a tight wire act where they can't afford to lose these games. We're talking about San Diego State, right? You can't lose to Air Force. They beat them at the buzzer, literally at the buzzer. Wayne McKinney at the buzzer, trailing by 1. You can't lose to San Jose State. They trailed by 21 points last night. 21 points. San Jose State hit 15 threes, the most made threes ever against San Diego State in a Mountain West game. Yeah, the Aztecs won the game. They came back from 21 down. They didn't have their starting center, Jared Coleman-Jones, who was out with the shoulder. They have 4 sophomores or freshmen. No, 5 sophomores or freshmen in eligibility on the floor the final 5 minutes, if you include Miles Byrd, who's a redshirt sophomore. And they win the game. So the glass half full is, how on earth did they do it? The glass half empty is, can they keep getting away, so to speak, with this from here until Selection Sunday?
What point of that game? It was like, 6.5 left or 7 left when they went on their 18-0 run?
Yeah, 8 minutes.
8 minutes. It was 62-50. And then within a matter of 3-4 minutes, it's 62.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Miles Byrd poured it on. Miles Byrd hits a 3 to give them the lead for the first time since it was 2-0 on a Miles Heide, I think, putback or dunk. And that place went crazy. Now, I wasn't there. You were. I texted you. I'm like, is that the loudest it's been all season long?
It was loud in the second half.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the loudest of the year, but it was really loud. The crowd sensed what I sensed, and you sensed was like, we cannot lose this game. No. You could not have lost that game last night after that incredible comeback. And once again, like you said, they avoid another bad loss that would have been put on their resume. But I'm just looking at this team as, yeah, they're young. Yeah, I get it. But they are a resilient bunch already. And I don't care who they're playing, trailing by 21 points in any game. That's tough to come back from, especially when San Jose State was like prime Golden State Warriors. Yeah, I'm not convinced that if San Jose State played Golden State last night for like an 8-minute game, it wouldn't have been like a tie. I mean, they were incredible. Now, again, you look at what the Aztecs have. This is hard to believe. They only have 10 regular season games remaining. I don't know what they need to do to remain in that large, good standing, so to speak. I mean, maybe 7-3. But you look at what they have. Like, that's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But then again, every time their backs are against the wall, they pick up a big win, like at Nevada or at Boise State. But you just got to take it a game at a time is what I've learned with right now, especially with this young team. Like, you can't take anything for granted. Most people would have told you they would beat San Jose State convincingly. They didn't. Now they have Wyoming on Saturday. They're going to be a heavy favorite again. No. You can't look past them. No. Again, your season's on the line. If you lose to Wyoming, there go your at-large chances. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing real quick. When someone comes in to play a team that has an at-large resume, you could just try to like swing and land haymakers. If San Jose State loses, who cares? But if they win, they've ruined someone's season. It's like the such an advantage of having a chance to play spoiler. You're just free and loose. I sensed that last night. And then the Aztecs are tighter because they know that everything's on the line. So I don't know. At the end of the day, it's a win, which keeps them very much alive in that at-large conversation. But also, you recognize that there's 10 games remaining, and can they keep doing this?
And if Magoon Guath decides, like, hey, I'm just going to be this player for this team for the rest of the year, that'd be nice.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable.
He's put now back-to-back games together where he has looked at times like the best player on the court.
Yeah, I agree.
And just unstoppable last night. He was hitting threes like with ease. I think that catching the ball in traffic for him and finishing at the rim was very impressive. His defense is always going to be there. San Jose State, they could not make a bucket down low because of the Aztecs' length and size. Yeah, they were bombing threes, but
they had 6 2-point field goals in the game.
Yeah, like when they were driving to the bucket, it was not going to end well for San Jose State. The only way they were going to win that game is if they were going to continue to hit a bunch of threes, and they almost did. They almost did, to the point where you started freaking out, and they pulled to it within 3 with like 10 seconds left.
They had the ball down 3. 5 seconds left.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they got a 3 off. It just happened to be a 35-footer. There was an air ball. Right, but they got a 3 off for the tie at the buzzer. So,
but dude, Goon and Miles Bird, and I see this in our chat, like those are 2 NBA prospects right there. And dude, the finish at the rim by Miles Bird late in that game.
Oh, his reverse layup.
It was wow.
I mean, I would say this, like I say to Padres fans when they traded for Juan Soto, like enjoy these moments, because the way college athletics change so often and the way roster turnover is, like, who knows what this roster looks like next year? And we're going to have Chase Fischer on, CEO and founder of Blenders, at 4:30 because they're raising NIL funds for San Diego State Men's Basketball and Mesa Foundation. You can't have enough NIL funds when you have multiple NBA players on your roster, which is what San Diego State has, to your point. In Bird and Guath, and Pharaoh Compton's a huge recruit, and Taj DeGorville has been terrific, this young guard for them, and BJ Davis might have NBA prospects. Like, think about that. You have a chance to maybe have this unbelievably experienced roster moving forward, but also in this era, everything can change in a heartbeat.
Yeah, next year you could have none of those players.
You have none of them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
which is kind of like
what
this
year
team.
They are.
This team's highest returnee, quote unquote, in scoring was their 7th highest scorer, because Reese Waters is out. That's Miles Bird.
Right. And he only averaged what, like 4 points last year or something?
4 or 5 points. So their top 6 scorers haven't played a second for this team. Their top 6 scorers from last year haven't played 1 second. And this team's 13-5, or are they 14-5? I already forget. But like Brian Dutcher, I don't care how this finishes. This is an unbelievable coaching job.
It's a good coaching job. It's a kind of like new territory for Dutch with coaching this young of a team.
Yeah.
Like he's used to having a veteran-laden team, and this team is far from that. But when their backs are up against the wall recently, Air Force last night, going on the road to Boise, they have performed. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the games where they either have the big lead like Utah State, or they go to New Mexico where they might be like, we don't really need this win, right? It's not like we have to have this game,
right?
Type of thing, and where they kind of almost let their guard down a little bit. And last night, when you look up at the scoreboard and you look at the time on the clock, and you're like, we're in the danger zone, and that's when they just flip that switch. Defensively, offensively, Miles Bird got hot. Magoon was unstoppable down low. Nick Boyd had some great moments, that and one. It was great to watch, man. I loved it.
I mean, they were, not only were they down 21 in the first half, you're like, what is happening here? Right.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it was kind of wild. But then in the second half, they pulled it within 7 immediately. Then they're down 16. They were down 16 in the second half at probably 6 minutes in. 14 minutes to play, they're down 16, and they come all the way back to win that game. And Dutch said post-game that there's just a grit about this team. Yeah, is it the best team in the history of the program? No, maybe not. I mean, obviously. Mm-hmm. But considering their youth and their lack of experience to be in this spot with so much to play for entering February, I think Aztec fans should be excited. We have tickets to give away for Saturday, and we'll do that coming up later this show.
Yeah, I looked at I was cooking dinner last night, and so I missed the first part of the game.
You didn't miss much.
I looked at my phone and I'm like, wait, what? It was like 33-16 with like 5 minutes to play in the first half. I was like, what?
Yeah,
Huh?
it was unbelievable.
I was getting texts like San Jose State. I'm like, I know, yeah. And then I watched the entire second half, and that flip, that the switch that was flipped, that was really fun to watch.
It really was.
I'm glad I watched the entirety of that end of the game.
No doubt about it. All right, on the other side, back to the impact here of free agent Ha-Seong Kim signing with the Tampa Bay Rays. Plus, is a huge change coming to the National Basketball Association. I said it. The National Basketball Association.
You do that on purpose?
I did. All right, we're here until 6 p.m. with Jon and Jim. All right, Jeff Passan has weighed in on the Padres. We'll share that with you coming up at 3 p.m. It's talking off-season winners and losers on the Talking Baseball YouTube channel.
I wonder where the Padres will fall on that winners and losers list.
Did they get an A plus or an A minus? Now, plus would be bad and minus would be good per Jim.
Correct.
Did they get an A plus or an A minus?
F plus is better than an F, right?
You said worse, though.
I know I said worse.
Like, it's been so bad, it's an F plus. I'm like, wait, that doesn't even make any sense.
So it's almost a D? What?
It doesn't even make any sense. We do want to remind you, is today Wednesday?
Yes, John.
Okay, we'll download the new iHeartRadio app. Because
only on Wednesdays or any day?
Any day.
Any day.
Presets, and you can put Jon and Jim in the presets, and you can put San Diego Sports 760 in the presets, and it's an amazing audio app.
It is so simple. Every day when I come to work or go home, I have my iHeartRadio app and I plug it in my car, and then the presets, boom, just click, done. I don't have to like search it out.
CarPlay?
Yeah, CarPlay, just
action.
right there. Presets right there. It's super easy, super simple. You really should get it, John.
I know. For whatever reason, I can't download it. I've been trying to download this. I mean, I'm going to have you look at my phone at the break.
I don't know if I want to.
I mean, there's nothing bad on here. It's all like bracketology.
I'm kind of afraid. I'm always afraid to look on other people's phones if I don't.
What are you going to find?
I don't
on my
know.
phone of all things.
Yeah, you're probably right.
You're going to find like
there's like pictures of tofu instead of like.
You're going to find a picture like Bart Torvik. I mean, what are you going to find? Ken Pomeroy?
Maybe. I don't know.
Who even knows? I do want to hear from Ken Rosenthal. Not Ken Rosenthal. Jeff Passan. So we'll share that with you coming up.
Interesting comments from our buddy Jeff.
Very interesting comments. Did you see this real quick? I mean, we don't spend a ton of time on the NBA. I think this could be the biggest change to the NBA in the last 50 years.
The National Basketball Association.
That's what I did just to annoy you.
I know.
Did you see this?
See what?
I'm going to say? I'm saying it's the biggest change to the NBA in at least 50 years if they do this. And it's straight from Adam Silver right here on San Diego Sports 760 today. Dan Patrick Show.
On the herd or TP?
Dan Patrick, yeah. Adam Silver said he's a fan of shortening NBA games to 4 10-minute quarters because a 2-hour format for a game is more consistent with modern television. Silver said today on the Dan Patrick Show it's a dramatic change and something that would have to be talked about more over time. They had discussed the idea of 11-minute quarters before. They've done preseason games with 10 and 11-minute quarters before. I like 10-minute quarters. I do think NBA games are a little long. Now, you're messing with stats. That's always a problem. But it's in line with the international game and the college game. And isn't it true, Jim? You're a diehard NBA guy historically. Isn't it true that basically you're waiting for the last like 4, 5, 6 minutes anyway? A lot of these games are determined the last 4, 5, 6 minutes. Not all of them. But like, does this mid first quarter really impact the late fourth quarter?
There's not been one time in my life while watching an NBA game did I think to myself, the quarters need to be shorter.
Really?
Not once.
I've thought the games are long.
I've never thought that. What I have thought is shortening the season.
Okay.
You know,
80-something games.
If the season was 70 games instead of 82 or 66, like I think there's a number in there that makes sense because it creates lesser back-to-backs. It gives players time to recover more, and hopefully you wouldn't deal with all this load management crap. So I never once have thought to myself, you know what? The games need to be shorter.
But have you ever watched the Olympics or college basketball and be like, man, I just wish that Aztec game had another 8-minute quarter in it?
I kind of wish at times when I'm watching
college,
almost like last night, I was like, I wish the game was another 3 minutes long when the Aztecs were trailing.
Yeah, no, I did too. I was thinking the exact same thing. But I mean, we're watching France against the U.S. in the gold medal game, for example.
I thought
are you thinking about the length of the game? I'm not.
I kind of am because
rotations and who's playing and how long they're on the floor.
I'm like, wow, this went quick.
Yeah, it does. It goes by in 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I don't think that's the problem because it's constant action. Baseball, you have to speed things up because there's not a lot of action.
Yeah.
Football, you don't have to worry about.
So nobody complains. You make a good point. You're saying people don't really complain about the NBA because it's too long.
It's not like baseball. You know, baseball, there's that big section of people bitching that the games are too long. There's no, portion that's like, man, this game's just too long.
I mean, Silver's talking about it. Maybe it's more about TV because you could then do a 7 p.m. Eastern game and a 9 p.m. Eastern game.
Well, one of the big problems too is if the game time is scheduled for 7 p.m., 99% of the time, that game does not tip off until like 7:15. So
Okay.
if you're going to schedule a game for
Right.
7,
Make
have
it
it tip off at
7:04.
7.
Yeah, well, I mean, it can't tip off at 7.
Well,
You bring
fine.
the commentators.
7:02, 7:03,
Yeah, I
whatever.
agree.
But don't you notice that when I don't?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I know. So
a
with
lot.
college, I mean, college basketball has the continuous issue. It impacts San Diego State as much as anyone because in the West, the games in front of it go long. So then you start the games afterwards later. So that has been a problem. I just found it interesting that it's being discussed now. Is that more like, hey, we'll talk about it but never do it? I mean, you mess with everything when you take 8 minutes off a 48-minute game. What's the leading score in the NBA going to average? It used to be 30 points. Now it's 27. You know, you're impacting everything if you were to do that.
Yeah.
I almost think in a way this is their backhanded way of lowering scoring without having to get the guys to actually play defense. Because then they can go, oh, look, nobody's scoring 180 points in every game again. It's like, well, yeah, because you took time off the
Wait, when's the
clock.
team scored 180 points?
Well, 100
I wasn't being
30.
exact.
Yeah, I know.
I was just half joking, but you know what I mean. Their teams are, getting up in the 130s and 140s like on the regular. Usually.
This doesn't solve the issue. What people are saying now. Okay, what are the 3 reasons you hear why people don't watch the NBA? Let's go through that.
Too many 3-pointers.
Too many 3-pointers is one of them. Ding. This is like, what's that game called when you say something and it pops up? Family Feud.
Okay.
Okay, so too many 3-pointers. Ding. 48% of our respondents said that. Thank you.
Load management.
Load management. Ding. 22%. And you know the other thing they say?
No defense.
Well, that's fair. That's
thing.
4%. The thing they actually say is everyone makes the playoffs. The games mean nothing. Because 20 of the 30 teams are in. Why would you watch November 29th when it has no bearing on anything? It's not like the NFL.
Now there's a play-in tournament, so
yeah, that's what I mean. So 20 of the 30 are in. So the point is, does a 10-minute quarter address any of that? No.
I think what would address their biggest problems from the jump, which is making sure all their star players are healthy and they're playing all the games, is shortening the season. That's to me what it is. That's why in the NFL, it's never going to happen because money rules all. But to increase to 20 games, you're going to be dealing with way more injuries to guys. Right. And that just hurts your product.
What I would be worried about with that is, say they do cut the number of games in the season, they're still going to do load management. Just like, remember, they weren't going to do, hey, don't make us play back-to-backs anymore and we won't do as much load management. Okay, sure. And Silver does it. And then they're like, oh, yeah, I'm not playing anyways. I don't care what you did. So I kind of feel like even if they shortened the season, they still wouldn't play.
It's just proves the NFL is king, to your point. I mean, you have to watch. They're never going to play more than 18 regular season games, even if it is 21 day. I mean, it's appointment viewing. The other sports aren't appointment viewing. It's just, there's no way to get around it. You can shorten quarters. You can eliminate the 3-point line. You can make baseball 154 games, not 162. You can't compete with the NFL. The NFL has all the advantages in the world.
Well, I think one of the biggest thing that the NFL has that the other sports don't is every single play. If you are not playing 100%, you are going to be noticed out there and you're going to stick out like a sore thumb.
You're just like jogging.
And you can't play less than 100% in the NFL, in an NFL game.
Killed.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, plus if you're, playing 30% and the guy across you is going 100, like you say, you're going to get hurt.
All right. I want to hear from Jeff Passan.
I do too.
On what his thoughts are on the NBA going to 10-minute quarters. No, Jeff Passan's weighed in on the Padres offseason. His take from talking baseball on the other side. Rocco Miller, first bracketologist of the year. It feels so good. He'll join us at 4. We've got great giveaways for you. We're here until 6. Hour 2. Jon and Jim comes your way next.
All right, this update's brought to you by Lowe's. San Diego State with its largest comeback victory last night since 2017. They trailed at one point by 21 points to San Jose State, picked up the victory. Next up, they'll take on Wyoming Saturday night at Viejas Arena, 5 p.m. tip time, 4 p.m. pregame right here on San Diego Sports 760. And baseball news of the day, Ha-Seong Kim officially signed a 2-year, $29 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. Lowe's Rewards Week is coming, and it's kind of a big deal. Members get ready for up to 40% off store-wide on hundreds of items. Join for free today. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We do have Aztec basketball tickets for Saturday to give away. We have Creed tickets to give away for the summer. When should we do the Aztec tickets, Jim? This hour?
Yes, John.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. So we're going to do that coming up later this hour. All right, so Jeff Passan, right? Baseball Insider, ESPN.com. He went on the Talking Baseball YouTube channel. Have we ever asked him to come on our YouTube channel? Forget about the radio show, but have we ever asked him to come on our YouTube channel?
No, but we could.
Is there a relation? Like, what is Talking Baseball?
It's the John Boy Network.
Okay. All right. So, big baseball channel.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Fair Territory podcast or Foul Territory podcast. I always get this mixed up. They're expanding to having like subsets of like different, like they have a Red Sox channel now, and then they have a Padres channel now, like all based off of their channel. So baseball on the good old YouTube is expanding.
It's expanding. That's good to know. Okay, so let's hear from Jeff Passan, because again, have we been critical of the Padres offseason? Yeah. Have Padres fans? Sure. Have others? Yeah. But let's hear it right from Jeff Passan, arguably the number one source for baseball news. This is Jeff Passan on Talking Baseball YouTube, talking about the Padres.
There's just been no significant moves to get better.
Right.
And if you're the Padres and you're competing with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, you kind of need to get better. Isn't that what the postseason taught you? Like, you can't run it back with what you've got, particularly with some free agents leaving already. And the Padres are in a very unfortunate situation right now because they have got they're getting dinged a couple ways. They've got a nasty fight over ownership of the franchise, which is always the sort of thing that can destabilize the product on the field, because, if you don't know where the future ownership is going to go, the likelihood of getting spending okayed is a whole lot lower. And they've also got Dylan Cease and Michael King going into their walk year with Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove, who's out right now, really being the lone holdovers in that rotation. You can look at Randy Vasquez as well, or Matt Waldron, but in reality, those are more back end of the rotation type guys. When you're talking front end starters, Musgrove in his 30s, Darvish in his late 30s, like this is not a group of pitchers that's getting any younger, and they've traded away so many of their top end guys, top end prospects, that the notion that they are going to suddenly be bringing up this groundswell of pitching from the minor leagues, it's not realistic. And so the Padres, it's a real rock and a hard place right now for them.
Rock and a hard place.
But other than that, everything's fine.
Well, again, Dan Zaborski's zip projections, which aren't opinionated. I do think two things are accurate. I do think they have a good core. I do think they're capable of having a good year, but I also think they're doing it against the backdrop of trying to do it uphill. They're trying to win uphill. And the organization isn't necessarily doing them favors. I'm talking about, like, I don't think the organization is doing AJ Preller favors or Mike Schild or that clubhouse. So they got to overcome, like, you never want to overcome your own organization. Isn't that the premise of Major League? Look at me with my movie reference. The premise of Major League is like, we're going to do it in spite of them.
Right.
Right. Like, you don't want to do it. Like, that shouldn't be, hey, let's do it in spite of the Seiler Bros. Like, I don't think that's going to be what galvanizes the Padres. Like, are they taking off like the items like at Major League? Are they taking off the clothes of the Seiler Bros?
I don't think they're doing that. Matt Seidler, they have a cutout of Matt Seidler in the clubhouse. Every win, they take off a piece of clothing.
Wearing a Speedo.
We can basically confirm that's not part of the plan.
No, it is not.
Even if they win the World Series, I doubt that's the reason as to why.
They have a Matt Seidler like cutout. They're like parading around downtown Petco.
Oh my gosh.
You know the guys at Cespedes Barbecue, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Their content and everything.
Yeah. They're really good. They posted this about an hour ago in regards to Ha-Seong Kim going to the Tampa Bay Rays. They said, not trying to pile on because I really feel for Padres fans, but with Kim officially signing elsewhere, that's now roughly 32% of their 2024 team's plate appearances that have left in free agency. He also mentions it's such a tough spot. Preller's going to have to get caps really creative. So, yeah, were they ever going to sign Ha-Seong Kim to $14.5 million per year? Never. But losing Ha-Seong Kim also is a blow because you do not have anything to replace him with. You don't have anything to replace Jurickson Profar with. You know, the Zips projection the other day when they added Elias Diaz, they got worse. So it just emphasizes the point. If this team is going to be good this year, they have pieces, really good pieces. Those really good pieces are going to have to excel and put together what's on the back of their baseball cards and or better.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's something to be said for like pulling on the same rope, which I think is possible in a clubhouse, even if the organization is like dealing with a lawsuit. I go back to the second half last year. I don't think you can really explain why they played as well as they played. Like, you can't explain it in back of baseball card or WAR. It was just pure, I don't even know. Like, you just getting a run. Like, I don't know. At their best, how good were they? There was a 50-game stretch where they were incredible.
They were one of, if not the best team in baseball.
Yeah, there was 50 games. I'm going to make it up. But let's just say there was a 39-11 stretch in there, or 38-12. I mean, they were really going at one point. And it's inexplainable. It doesn't happen because of WAR. It doesn't happen because of baseball cards.
Right.
It happens because the GM was savvy. Schilt was pulling the right strings. The players were performing. They started to believe the way they were winning games. I mean, they were the king of walk-offs a year ago. There was a summer stretch where they were walking off everyone.
Jackson Merrill was a big part of that.
The fact that the Dodgers were poking at Profar and Profar made him pay. The Nats poked, they made him pay. Like, it just really worked beautifully. Maybe that happens again. Maybe a little bit against all odds that happens again, or maybe it's tougher to do that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't predict. You have the best roster in baseball. Let's use LA. You still can't predict a 40-10 run. I don't know if the Dodgers will have a 40-10 run in them next year, and they're going to be the best team in baseball.
And I know, Kevin's article over the weekend, which we talked to him about, the one where, I mean, let's just face it, he got destroyed for it. Like, his mentions are not pretty. I think people view what he wrote as, why are you complaining? Everything is fine. The payroll's top 10 in baseball. They have a bunch of good players. Look what happened last year. And I think that's what Kevin was trying to emphasize the most, is that, do you guys remember what happened last offseason? Because last offseason, the owner died. You traded away a Hall of Famer for pieces you had no idea what it was going to give you. You made no significant signings. You made the biggest signing of the offseason was Wandy Peralta, who sucks. And you signed Jurickson Profar right before spring training started to $1 million. And the team ended up winning 93 games. I get that. You can have a bad offseason and you can put together a good year. They did it last year. Absolutely. The vibes in the offseason were not great. Not great. I think signing Profar was like, okay, it's cool. I like that. I like Profar. It's really good. Let's see what Michael King does. But, what's Jackson Merrill going to do? Can he even, play a full season at the big league level. So I get that. But I don't know, man. I feel like the vibes this offseason are worse than last offseason, even though the biggest story in the last 20 years with this team is the loss of their owner, Peter Seidler.
I do agree with it, but I also do wonder. Like, I'm at this Aztec game last night, and I'm watching. Like, all these Padres are there, right?
Oh,
Michael
like
King,
section.
Jackson Merrill,
Dylan Cease,
yeah, Joe Musgrove. They're all there, and I'm watching the way they interact. I mean, at one point, Merrill and Musgrove were right there on press row, and they're just sitting there having a good time and having a drink and cheering on the Aztecs. And we forget they're just the players. Like, do they concern themselves with like the organizational structure? It's like you might work a job right now where you are a salesman or you fix vehicles or you paint homes. Are you overly concerned about who owns the company? If you're Jackson Merrill, are you overly concerned with that? Does that have any part of your ability to be successful or not?
If it affects the team.
I know, but I agree. But once you have the team, like, are they not going to have the team that they need to win because of this ownership spat? Maybe.
I'll give you an example of how not making any moves could really hurt the morale of a team. What happened in 2022? Or no, sorry,
the deadline.
Sorry, 2021.
The deadline when they didn't do anything,
where they were kind of reeling. They had an amazing start to their season, and they didn't land Scherzer, and it was reported they had Scherzer in the bag, and then that didn't happen. The morale of the team was like, yo, we need help. And that didn't come.
That was I agree. If that happens again, I completely agree. That was a team at one point in 2021 that was awesome. At one point, the wheels completely fell off. I mean, they were 20 games over 500.
And Preller tried to spin it like if our guys don't perform, then we're not going to be good.
I'll absolutely, I'll vilify them if we somehow get to July 31st and they're 70 and 50, whatever the math would be, 60 and 50, 60 and 40. And they don't make any moves to bolster like they did a year ago and adding pieces like Tanner Scott. Sure, that's a whole other conversation. I'm just saying, if you get to opening day and your roster might not be as good as it was last year, but it's good. Like, on its face, Dan Zimborski, Fangraphs, good. High 80s projections team. Then what does it matter that Sheil Seidler said this about Robert and John said this about Sheil?
Yeah, no, I
know. I mean, we're saying the same thing. I almost wonder if it means anything at all once you get to the actual games being played. I'm with you. If it means they can't sign Jurickson Profar, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If it means they can't trade for starting pitching, it's an absolute problem. But April 15th, when they're taking on the Sacramento A's, we've said this a lot. I don't know if it'll be impactful. It may be, but I don't know if it will be or not.
It has the potential, and this is where Schilt's going to have to earn his money. And I think he does a good job at rallying people, and he's always optimistic. So nothing will ever bother the guy.
No, he's not going to be bothered. I agree.
No, but inevitably, there will be a moment of the season where things are not going well. And with the lawsuit and the ownership issues hovering over the team, and if, whoever's in left field is really struggling, if whoever's behind the plate is really struggling, if it is, they don't have enough pitching, if they're dealing with some injuries, right? Then you'll be saying, if we made moves in the offseason, we could have avoided this, but we didn't, and we couldn't because of the ownership problems. And that's when it will really be, okay, where's this team going to go? Are they going to overcome this or not? Are they going to slide down this avalanche of despair and, oh my God, the season, is about to be awful and yada, yada, yada. Like,
yeah,
where's he going to go?
And the issue is that Jurickson Profar has already called out ownership. I mean, somewhat indirectly, and Roki Sasaki has already mentioned the word stability. And then you have Ken Rosenthal and Jeff Passan's, piling on, so to speak. So that's why people are talking about it, because it could be impactful. And we'll find out once the season gets underway. FanFest is this weekend. I'm sure some of you are going. If you are, text us 70470, start it with team. I found it interesting to see who is scheduled to meet with the media. And we'll discuss that on the other side. Which Padres executives and players will meet with the media and who will not meet with the media on Saturday. We're here until 6 p.m. We got great giveaways. We'll do Aztec basketball tickets for Saturday this hour. It's Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760. AM radio keeps vital voices accessible. Congress can secure its future, but we need your help. Text AM to 52886 now to support keeping AM radio in cars. Tell your member of Congress to pass legislation now and keep AM radio in cars. Standard message and data rates apply.
Was there any part of you last night during the game seeing how many Padres players were there
That thought that they were a jinx?
that thought, you know what? Maybe I should go up to him and ask him, like, hey, do you want to come on our radio show?
No,
Okay.
not once did I think that. Because I'm not going to, here's the thing. Here's one.
John doesn't do that.
Well, I would never go up to someone in a like personal setting
Yeah, it's tough.
and ask them
But,
something
yeah.
for like, hey, can you do something for, no. They're enjoying a night out. They're with friends. They're with family. They're watching an Aztec basketball game. I'm not trying to conduct business like, hey, here's my card. I mean, some people would, I get it,
You know who would have
but
done that?
that's not,
Jim.
well, no, Jim wouldn't do it.
I'm not there, but you know who would have done that?
Yeah, of course I do.
Marty.
Yeah, but that's your style. That's not my style. I never have done that because I'm not going to be like, hey, Joe. He's like an Aztec alum, even though he's not. Like, he's there.
for you?
He's like, by the way, part of the comeback, I give Joe Musgrove and Jackson Merrill credit.
Were they
They
the
were
whole-
like freaking out
Were they there the whole time?
whole game.
Wow, good for them.
So yeah, they were freaking out. I mean, Joe Musgrove really gets into it. It's the third game I've seen him at this year, which is
Wow.
3 more than you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So that's why he's getting the Coach Dutcher bobblehead and he's getting the red replica jersey.
Oh, must be nice.
And you're just working with me.
So they stayed for the whole game. Did you see any other Padres
I
stay
s-
for the
saw-
whole time?
I mean, I don't know because there were so many of them that they were either in, there's like a mezzanine area
Mhm.
suite. You know what I'm talking about? You haven't been there forever.
I know
and,
where you're talking
And there was a
about.
whole
I saw
other
a picture
seating
of them.
block as well.
Yeah.
I have no idea if they were, but when they walked in, so we're outside, right? Me and Fletch broadcasting outside. I'm like, oh, the San Diego Padres are walking in. I mean,
The
it
whole
was
crew.
a group of like 50. That was a lot of like farm hands.
Get
Some
ready
of their
for
players.
FanFest.
They're getting ready for FanFest. They're here. They're hitting at Tony Gwynn Stadium yesterday.
Tyler Wade announced on Twitter, even though he blocked me, that he's in San Diego for FanFest.
Everyone's here.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned FanFest. So a lot of our listeners, I'm sure, will be there this week, and I'm sure it'll be a really good event. I hope it is a really good event. And we got a release today about the players and coaches / executives that will be speaking to the media on Saturday. And listen, you got heavy hitters in there. I mean, when I saw Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill and Musgrove, I know he's hurt, but then Dylan Cease and Yu Darvish, I'm like, okay, yeah. It's a lot of really good players speaking, and then they have their manager, Mike Schilt. That's great. But there is obviously some obvious omissions, one of which is AJ Preller, who clearly is going to be asked about ownership and spending in the direction.
But has he talked
I
during
don't know.
FanFest
I
before?
don't know.
I don't
I don't
remember.
know the answer.
I don't remember.
And then ownership, and again, ownership typically will start the conversation at spring training, not at FanFest. And I don't even know who ownership is, right? Because we haven't had John Seiler voted in yet by Major League Baseball.
It's still Eric Casenda.
So who knows what happens day one of spring training? Because day one of spring training, this might not be done. So does anyone talk day one of spring training? But the point is, if you're looking for answers from John Seiler, from whomever else, from AJ Preller, you're not going to get them Saturday. You'll hear from the manager. You'll hear from some of these star players, which I think is great for Padres fans, but you're not going to get those 30,000 foot answers that only AJ Preller or someone in ownership could provide.
Joe speaking, which is interesting because he's not going to be playing this year.
Right. Like, you know, he's going to be a big part of it.
He's
like
gonna,
behind the scenes.
Yeah, he'll be here, but I mean, he's not a part of the team.
I know, but he's like a leader. I mean, he's a leader.
I know. No Michael King.
No Michael King, right?
Now, again, a lot of this maybe could be due to travel issues or timing. Like, I'm not going to put too much stock into who would be there and who wouldn't be there. Like, Juan Soto didn't go to the Mets, I guess, FanFest the other day, not because he didn't want to, but because of his flight was canceled or delayed, and so he couldn't make it on time.
Another vindictive security guard.
Right. But yeah, I mean, you got, I mean, Manny's obviously lives here, so he's not coming in from anywhere else. Tatis, nice. Jackson, he's here. Joe, Dylan Cease is going to be interesting. Who are the two people you'd want to talk to? Because I know for me, it's easy.
Definitely Merrill.
No.
Definitely Machado.
Yep.
I like Merrill because he was brutally honest a year ago. Like, he just didn't care. So he said some things that I found interesting. Okay, so definitely Machado. Hold on, I need to see the list again. Of these people or of anyone?
Of the people that are scheduled to speak at FanFest.
Who's scheduled?
Mike Schilt, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr. You don't have it in front of you?
No.
Jackson Merrill. You just did.
I know.
Joe Musgrove, Dylan Cease, Yu Darvish.
I mean, I guess you would say Cease and Machado because Cease, what about your future?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's not going to answer it. I'm ready for the season, yada, yada.
I know. But, you can ask the questions. It doesn't matter what the answers are. The questions are out there. So the question to Machado would be, do you have any comment on the recent legal battles between the Seidler brothers and Shield Seidler?
And I could already see his answer.
Yep.
No.
That's above my pay grade, man.
Absolutely. But it still is a question to ask the face of the franchise.
I just been hitting the cage.
And then
get my body ready.
Dylan Cease is like, hey, you've been in a lot of trade rumors this season. Do you how have you been handling that, or what do you make of these trade rumors? Have they talked to you at all? Has your agent talked to you at all about
that? Now that's a good line.
These potential trade rumors.
That's a good angle, because if you say, hey, you've been in trade rumors, like, well, I was part of that earlier in my career too,
right.
And you just got to be able to cut out the noise and do your job. And I'm looking forward to the season. I think we got a good team.
Yeah.
I saw Dan Zaborski said we might win 89 games.
I mean, Dan Zaborski
I mean, they're pretty good. Now, Manny's pretty raw and honest. Manny might say something interesting about ownership. He may. I don't know.
That's why that question, and I hope, is asked. I asked to go.
What do you mean you asked to go? It's a free event. Just go.
No, like press.
You mean he asked his wife?
No, not my wife, Brent. I asked for a press.
How did you ask?
What do you mean?
An email?
Yeah, an email.
And did they email you back?
Not yet.
Well, then you're not going.
Still early in the process. But I think having that question posed to the face of your franchise, hey, do you have any comment on this, Manny? And if you don't, it's fine. I'm not saying you has to. Like, he doesn't have to say anything.
It's not his fault.
No, he doesn't have to say anything. He could easily be like, no, I don't. Or I'm just worrying about baseball, the cliche Manny answer. But on the one-off that he does say something, it'd be very interesting.
I'll say something. Here's the one thing I bet Padres PR will do at some point, and I don't blame them.
Tell people not to ask that.
Talk about, you could ask it at FanFest. You could ask it day one of spring training, but there's no way that's going to be a line of questioning all year. You know what I mean?
No, it's a one-time thing.
And I honestly think he can go beyond FanFest. I think he can start spring training with it too.
If he goes 0 for 4 on like a Tuesday,
I need to talk to you about
June. Like, hey,
Shield
any
said
comments?
The team's moving. Is that why you swung at that slider low and away?
No, it's not going to happen. I get that.
No, but I do think, I think there's more than just FanFest. Yeah, I think it's appropriate on Saturday. And then with the whole team, like the whole team's not there Saturday. So it's spring training. You could ask Michael King, who's not speaking with the media. Hey, Michael, you got this arbitration case. They're fighting with you over $1.4 million. Does this have to do with the ownership?
Hey, Mike, you were so confident that you guys were going to land Roki Sasaki in the offseason.
Was he?
How disappointed are you that you guys didn't land him?
King was? Oh, the organization was so confident.
Did I say King or I meant Schilt? Sorry.
You said Michael.
Oh, I just said Mike Schilt. Mike Schilt.
Oh, Schilt.
And Mike.
I can't understand you. Because I thought you were saying Shield.
Well, you should put your headphones on.
No, I can't understand like how you talk. I can hear.
Oh, that's a problem.
It's a big problem. All right. On the other side, again, we have Aztec basketball tickets to give away. I want to jump off with a text off the text line about this Padres-Dodgers dynamic as well. Plus, we've got a bracketologist, Rocco Miller, joining us at 4 p.m. Chase Fischer, CEO and founder of Blenders, will join us at 4:30 on an initiative they're doing with San Diego State men's and women's basketball. Great show lined up until 6 p.m. Don't go anywhere. Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. San Diego State beat San Jose State last night. At one point in the game, they were trailing by 21 points. It's their largest come-from-behind victory since 2017. Next up, the Aztecs take on Wyoming Saturday night at Viejas Arena at 5 p.m., 4 p.m. pregame right here on San Diego Sports 760. In baseball news of the day, Hassan Kim, he signed a 2-year, $29 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. Lowe's Rewards Week is coming, and it's kind of a big deal. Members get ready for up to 40% off store-wide on hundreds of items. Join for free today. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms, subject to change.
All right, we're going to give away Aztec tickets between now and 4 p.m. Don't go anywhere. This is Saturday, Wyoming, 5 o'clock start. Great start time. Pregame coverage at 4. Another gotta-have game for San Diego State. All right, I want Jim to react to this. All right, just bear with me on this. All right, 662.
Okay.
Dear Jon and Jim, my name's Damian. I'm a grade schooler from City Heights in San Diego. Just bear with me.
Okay.
I feel like the Dodgers are bad for baseball because the game will be less competitive because of all the good players they have. They already have so much, and they've added good pitchers like Blake Snell. Also, knowing that Shohei Ohtani is going to be able to pitch makes it feel like the Dodgers are trying everything in their power to make them unstoppable. So them alone is making the Dodgers a better team. And Shohei was going crazy last season. So imagine just a little bit more games. He's going to be in his prime this year. On top of Shohei, his teammates like Freddie Freeman are good. He went crazy in the World Series. If he keeps this up, he's going to be crazy good this year. So they already have this good team. And now they add Sasaki. I feel like if you have that many players, some of them are going to end up being benched or not even playing. Knowing how good Sasaki is, he might be a relief pitcher because of how good he is. The Dodgers are bad for baseball because the games will be less competitive, and we won't even get to see the best players because they have so many of them.
Was that one sentence?
All right, see you guys tomorrow.
No, it's a long text. It's a long text, and I appreciate it because it's from someone in school. But it goes back to something that we've actually talked about, which is this idea that heading into the season, the Dodgers are already going to be better than everyone else. So is there a reason to watch? Because I understand it. Like the sentiment, whether you're a kid or an adult, or you're just a fan, we've spent the offseason being like, are you serious? Snell? Are you serious? Sasaki? Are you serious? Teoscar Hernandez is back. Oh, Ohtani last year. But here's what I would say to Damian, and thank you for the text, is that the sport doesn't work like that. You don't go into a year. I don't even think you do it in the NFL, although the Chiefs are about to win 3 straight Super Bowls. Or I don't think you do it in the NBA, even though the Warriors or the Cavs have done it previously. I don't think you just go into a season because you have the best roster, specifically in baseball, and just assure yourselves of doing what you did the year before.
Manny McNuggets in the YouTube chat says, that's not a grade schooler talking. That's Ben Fadden.
It could have been, dude. I was actually Jim. Damian is Jim.
That was the longest run-on sentence ever.
No, it wasn't a run-on sentence. It was a lot of, I was just trying to get
in
through
there,
quickly.
Commas? No.
There were periods.
Okay. Here's what I'll say to that. That's what the Dodgers are supposed to do. We all might hate it, but I don't have a problem with them trying to get as much talent as possible. I have a problem with the system. I have a problem with the fact that they have a $300 million TV deal and no other team has that benefit.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my problem lies. I don't have a problem that they're going out and signing all these players. It's kind of one of those things you just throw your hands up in the air and be like, well, nothing you can do about that. That sucks, but it's not going to stop me from watching the games because they're too good. That's their job. If the Padres were the Dodgers and they had a $300 million TV deal and they were doing everything the Dodgers were doing, you know what I would be saying? I'd be saying tough S.
Right.
And that's what we did say when the Padres were signing all these guys to big time contracts.
Yeah. I mean, again, we've seen super teams in sports. I mean, I think I might have argued at some point in the last 3 or 4 years, the Padres kind of had compiled. When you have Soto, Bogarts, Manny, Toddy all on, I mean, that super team-esque. I know you don't do it in baseball.
Is it sustainable?
There was that, but also there was this super team element to it. I don't think the super team is necessarily problematic. I don't think people were complaining when the Heat had all those players together. I think that the Chiefs winning,
there was a lot of complaints.
I know there were, but I mean, it was. But
well,
was
they
it
lost
bad for
that
the
1 year
sport?
too, though, so they didn't win every year.
They lost 2 years.
Yeah.
Was it bad for the sport though? I mean, I think it brought eyeballs and attention. In fact, I would argue there's probably more eyeballs and attention on the NBA then than there are now.
Yeah, and then when KD went to the Warriors, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, same idea. Or like NFL, I don't know. And maybe it's more of a conversation about dynasties. I don't think the Dodgers are there because they've won one title, but maybe it's a conversation like, let someone else have a shot. Everyone likes to say that, but the Chiefs-Bills was the highest rated AFC championship game ever.
Yeah, it's the problem again with the Dodgers that I have, and it's with baseball as well, is the amount of deferrals that they're giving to players. And yeah, the players have to sign off on it, but they have accumulated over $1 billion worth of deferrals for players. That gives them an advantage. They have a TV deal that no other team has that gives them an advantage. So from that standpoint, yeah, the playing field's not even. It's just not. And they don't care about the CBT tax. They're going to pay Kirby Yates like what? So he got like a $14 million contract the other day, and you add the CBT tax. That's like almost like a $30 million contract.
It's a lot. Yeah.
So you're going to give Kirby Yates, added with the tax the tax problems, $30 million. And they're like, okay, it's fine. And no other team can operate like that. That's where like my problem lies. I don't care. I mean, I do care, but I'm not getting mad. The Dodgers are signing Blake Snell and getting, all these players. Cause if it were the Padres, I would be like, good, keep doing it. It's that the playing field and how the Dodgers are doing this has to be addressed.
And which goes back to your point, which is, it's funny to say, like, it actually isn't the Dodgers. We point our hatred. I mean, we're in Southern California, and if you're in San Diego and you hate the Dodgers, sure, you hate the Dodgers. But I mean, I almost agree with what Paston wrote, I think, recently, which is like the Dodgers are just taking advantage of it.
To another level, yeah.
But it's the system that's a problem. But then again, there's never going to be, we're going to pretend like there's another CBA up and they're going to strike or there's going to be a lockout. They're going to fix everything. No, they won't. They won't. The two sides are so hardened that they'll eventually agree to something that neither fully wants, and they'll appease the players to some extent, and they'll appease the owners to another extent. But they're not going to be all of a sudden in 2026. You know what? Everyone's right. Pirates fans are mad.
Yeah.
Put a $190 million cap in, and everything's fine. It's not coming to the sport. Will there be minor changes? Could they get rid of some of the deferral rules? Maybe, but it's just going to be minor change.
Maybe instead of just putting like a general cap on salaries, they just do a cap on deferrals.
I think that's a good idea, because the deferrals
you can still sign crazy. Whatever, but we're gonna limit you on how much money you can defer.
Maybe
because the biggest thing and what's created the Dodgers to do all this is the amount of money that Shohei Ohtani was able to defer.
Crazy amount of money.
You defer damn near 95% of your contract to 13 years down the road. It gives you this incredible advantage as a team to go out and spend a bunch of money.
I was less mad about the deferral than the AAV. Because remember,
well, the AAV is like 40.
But the contract's 700.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. It all does not make sense.
The math didn't add up on that. So I was as mad about the average annual salary than I was about the deferral.
And then
I do think the deferral rules need to be cleaned up.
And then their payroll this year, Ohtani is like the lowest paid player on that team. He's going to make $2 million.
He makes less than Elias Diaz.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Oh, Shohei, this brilliant plan he put together.
Right.
Yeah, he had no idea his best friend was taking all his money and gambling. Okay.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's like, did the Padres also make some large signings? Yeah. I mean, they didn't do $700 million signings and they didn't defer like that. But even Machado initially as a free agent, the extending of Tatis, the Bogarts deal, even the Darvish deal is a pretty big deal. So, I mean, Padres but I give him credit for spending. It's hard for me to knock Preller. Honestly, to like do the full 180 on it, it's hard for me to knock Preller and be like, that Bogarts deal sucks. I mean, I give the organization just credit for doing it. So many teams didn't do it. Yeah, it's easy now to say bad deal. I agree. It's a bad deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he's ultimately responsible for it. But like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. There were very few teams spending like that. And the Padres were one of those spenders. Now, could they have spent it better? Yeah. But it's hard to fault the $280 million spend.
Mm-hmm. And I think, yeah, you can say, good job. You went out and spent money and got Xander. But I still can sit here after the deal is signed and be like, yeah, it's a bad deal.
It's a bad deal. It is a bad deal.
Because remember at the time when it happened, it was like, oh, okay. I guess Ha-Seong Kim's moving over to second base, and Jake's going to be at first. Like, it was a player they signed that they didn't need.
Right.
Like, you had a shortstop who was Ha-Seong Kim. You had a second baseman who was Jake Cronenworth. You needed a first baseman because Hosmer was awful. You're right. Like, they moved Tatis to right field, and then by signing Xander, it was like you're putting another piece of the puzzle in there that doesn't fit.
But I was a big believer in you can't have too much talent. Like the idea that in an NFL draft, don't go with the best quarterback.
Just
with the best player,
the highest player on your board.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, football,
I get it.
Yeah, but baseball, you're like, all right, we got a shortstop for the next couple of years in Ha-Seong Kim. No, we're just gonna get another shortstop.
Just kidding.
Like what?
And we have a future shortstop in Jackson Merrill, and we have a previous shortstop in Fernando Tatis
Right.
Jr.
At the time, I didn't know that Jackson Merrill was going to be center fielder.
No, we didn't. You're right.
So, and now Leo DeVries is their, I guess, quote unquote, shortstop of the future.
Yeah.
Highest rated prospect in baseball for them. Not in baseball, but highest rated prospect for the Padres this year.
Glad you mentioned it because Kylie McDaniel's top 100 baseball rankings came out today. David J. from Mad Friars will join us at 5 p.m. Did you see Kylie McDaniel's rankings?
Oh, I did.
All right. We can share those with you on the other side. Plus, we're giving away Aztec basketball tickets next, Jon and Jim. away Aztec basketball tickets in the next few minutes. Do not go anywhere. We have tickets for Saturday. We'll tell you when to call. Do not go anywhere. We'll give those away coming up. Did you see these quotes from Hal Steinbrenner? I didn't until right now. You know what I'm referencing on the Dodgers?
Yeah, I saw them.
Yeah, he was quoted by Yes Network as saying, this is the owner of the Yankees.
Dude.
George Steinbrenner's kid said this. It's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do the kinds of things they're doing, referencing the Dodgers. And then he went on to say, we'll see if it pays off. The Yankees are saying that?
His dad is rolling in his grave, dude.
And by the way, you might feel that way if you're Hal Steinbrenner. Don't say that publicly. You're the evil Empire Yankees. You're in New York City. You have all the advantages.
You have the Yes Network. You're the Yankees. Like,
just don't say it.
Give me
Be like,
a
yeah.
break.
Well, like they've spent a lot. So have we. We'll see if it pays off. We tried to get Juan Soto. It wasn't our decision that he went to the Mets.
I'm assuming he's getting destroyed in New York.
He's got to be getting destroyed, dude.
How could a Yankee fan hearing that from a Steinbrenner?
Oh my gosh.
I would lose my
Their
mind.
spending since George has been curtailed significantly. They've had moments.
Yeah.
They've still spent more than most over the years.
They signed Judge, but even that Judge was not like a oh my God contract. It was a $400 million deal that was the largest at the time in Yankees history.
The Ohtani Soto deals are not to the Yankees.
No,
the biggest deals in baseball history are not the Yankees.
I wonder what he would be saying if they landed Juan Soto, because if they landed Juan Soto, that was going to be a $750 million contract.
Did they offer, what was, at the end of the day, were the Yankees right there with the Mets?
The Mets contract at the end of the day with all of the options and everything was well over $800 million total.
Yeah, because he's got like an opt-in to make it higher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yankees, all of things said and done, they were like 60 million below what the Mets offered Soto.
Well, that's why I would have said, if I was asked about the Dodgers spending, I'd be like, listen, we tried to spend $700 million. I just would have said that.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't land them. We've made some additions. We'll continue to do it.
Yeah, you can.
I'm not saying that in New York.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah, you should have been like, look, we tried to spend $700+ million with Juan Soto, but again, they're never going to talk about other players on their teams.
It's true, they're not, especially in New York. You're not going to reference the Mets like that.
They did sign Max Fried to a
huge deal,
a godly amounts of money.
Too much money.
They re-signed Garrett Cole.
Yeah, they've spent money.
They brought in Paul Goldschmidt. Now again, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Who else did they bring in?
I don't know. But
they've done a lot. They've done a lot of work this offseason.
Hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
Okay. Yesterday, what prospect list did we reference yesterday?
We referenced Baseball America's prospect.
Okay, so Kylie McDaniel today, who's been in the space for a long time and is at ESPN.com, he's got his top 100. So there's the good news and there's the bad news. The good news is he is very high on both Leo DeVries and Ethan Salas. He has DeVries as the 15th best prospect in the sport. That is really high.
Oh, must be nice.
For an 18-year-old, right? The switch hitter shortstop. And then Ethan Salas, also only 18. He has him as the number 22 prospect in the sport. That's still very high, even if it's not top 10. So the good news is, all right, he is high on DeVries and Salas. We'll see. I didn't realize until you just said it that the LA Dodgers have 8 of the top 100. The Padres don't have any other player in the top 100. Now, they have prospects in the low levels of the minor leagues, but they have 2 of the top 100. LA has 8?
Rocky's the number 1 prospect in all of baseball.
Okay, so that's a little fake.
It's a little fake, yeah, but even without that, they got 7.
Yeah.
They have the number 1 ranked prospect, the number 16th ranked prospect, the 20th ranked prospect, 37th, 70th, 80th, 93, and 94th ranked prospect in baseball. So at the deadline, if they need something,
they can move.
Guess what? Here's our 80th, 93rd, and 94th top prospect. 3 top 100 prospects for whatever we want. They are. I hate the Dodgers, but they're just operating at a different level than everyone else.
Maybe that's what Hal Steinbrenner was basically saying. They're just operating at a higher level right now, and that's why it's difficult to compete. System's good. They're spending.
System's
and their team
great.
And their team was already good without their spending.
Yeah.
They didn't
won a
need
World
to spend to be
Series.
Good.
Yeah. So, again, we'll have David J. from Mad Friars on at 5 p.m. But like we mentioned yesterday, Ethan Salas dropping from where he was.
Right.
I know that Baseball America had him ranked in the low 30s.
Yeah.
Kylie McDaniel has him in the 20s, which is not bad. It's great.
No, I think it's pretty good.
You have 2 top 35 prospects in all of baseball. Like, yeah, that's really good. But that's the problem. That's it. Well, what else do you have in your system? And I think hearing so much about Ethan Salas this guy's it. He is a untouchable, like he's the next big thing. I was under the impression that he was like at minimum a top 10 prospect in baseball.
But can I read this line from McDaniel?
And numbers mean nothing, but you get my point.
Listen to this. He writes this one sentence that is fascinating. Given the very low bar for catcher hitting in the major leagues, and then he puts in parentheses, listen to the league average hitting line for a catcher in Major League Baseball last year. 234 batting average, 299 on base percentage, sub 300, 380 slug, 13 home runs every 450 plate appearances. He writes this: Salas has a shot to be one of the top 5 to 7 at the position in just a couple of years because the bar isn't that high. Yeah, he hit 220 or whatever, but man, he hits 250 with 15 homers. All of a sudden, you're like a top 10 catcher in the sport. Mm-hmm. So I do get that. You're not asking him to be a center fielder that hits 301 with 33 home runs.
Yeah, the catching position, especially like the Johnny Bench days, and then going into the 90s with the Piazzas and the Pudge Rodriguez, and then the early 2000s, mid 2000s Buster Posies of the world. Like that was a position where you see those guys winning MVPs, and like middle of lineups hitting cleanup 3-hole. You rarely see that nowadays. Adley Rutschman of the Orioles. All right, JT Realmuto,
Phillies, yeah,
but he's not hitting in the middle of that lineup. He's kind of towards the bottom end of it. But like, if you can get from a catcher in a season 250 with a 750 OPS and close to 20 home runs, like plays catches 135 games, like that's an amazing year for the catching position right now in baseball. If you get that.
Kylan McDaniel said this about Leo DeVries, because under each player it says like reminds me of, and then he writes a sentence. And again, he's 18. So you always have to take everything with grains of salt, not a grain of salt. It says, reminds me of a switch hitting version of Willy Adames, ? So again, when you start forecasting, he also writes this: the type of player, he's a tooled up young shortstop with real power.
Tooled up.
You could imagine almost anything is what he writes. So that's good. It's encouraging. And I don't think they're moving these players. I think at this point, you spent the money on DeVries internationally. You spent the money on Salas internationally. Maybe it hasn't been perfect yet in the minor leagues. With their payroll issues, these guys got to hit. Both of these guys, not one of these guys. Both of these guys, I'm not saying they have to be Jackson Merrill 9-time All-Stars. They just have to hit. They have to be productive major league players for the Padres.
I would be honestly okay if one of them hit, truthfully, because we know how hard it is to get success rates for minor league guys. Like having Jackson Merrill be what he is right now, and hopefully, he doesn't drop off and fall off a cliff. But what you got from Jackson Merrill last year in his first year as a rookie, you've never seen in the Preller regime.
I haven't seen it from a Padre. It's been a while. We did the whole math on that. There's only a couple of examples.
Khalil Green, position player wise.
Benito Santiago.
Yeah. So, and then Jake Peavy.
Right, as a pitcher.
Right. But
he followed me on Twitter. Does he follow you?
He does.
Oh, must be nice. He followed you last night?
He followed the station the other day too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't follow everyone. I was looking. He follows like 1,000 people.
Oh, okay.
He follows you?
I think so.
Then I'm unfollowing him.
He retweeted one of my tweets from a couple years ago.
What did it say?
It was
Jake Peavy is the best pitcher of all time. Retweet.
I don't remember.
Okay.
But if you told me right now, all right, I love to sign on the dotted line.
Yeah. What are you going to sign off on right now?
You don't know who.
But one of them is what?
But one of them turns into an all-star, like Jackson Merrill.
Not an all-star. I need more than that.
Like Jackson Merrill. They turn into the Jackson Merrill 2.0.
Oh, 100%. I don't care about the other one then.
That's what I mean.
Because then if you have 2 Jackson Merrills for the next 10 years, in terms of productivity,
along with
about the other.
Tatis.
Yeah, because it's like beggars can't be choosers. Because if you want both of them to be that, what if they both don't turn out?
Yeah.
You need one more to turn out like him.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that both of them have to turn and be really good.
Amazing.
But you got to get one.
Agreed. All right, Rocco Miller, our bracketologist of the day, our first bracketologist of the season. To celebrate our first bracketologist of the season.
Can I leave?
You can.
Okay.
Call right now. We have 2 free tickets for Saturday. Aztecs, Wyoming, 5 p.m. Viejas Arena. Tickets at goaztecs.com. Caller 5, you're going. To celebrate our first bracketologist of the season, look at these phone lines. 877-767-4760. That's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. San Diego State with a thrilling comeback, come from behind victory last night over San Jose State. It was their largest come from behind victory since 2017. At one point, they trailed by 21 points in the game. Next up, they'll take on Wyoming Saturday night at Viejas Arena, 5 p.m. tip, 4 p.m. pregame right here. You can listen to the game on San Diego Sports 760. And the big baseball news of the day, Ha-Seong Kim signed a 2-year, $29 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. My Lowe's Rewards Week is coming, and it's kind of a big deal. Members get ready for up to 40% off store-wide on hundreds of items. Join for free today. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms, subject to change.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. Looking forward to the hour. Coming up in 30 minutes, Chase Fischer, CEO, founder of Blenders Sunglasses. They've got that NIL initiative with Mesa Foundation, supporting San Diego State men's and women's basketball. He'll join us at 4:30. We've got David J. from Mad Friars and the Padres system coming up at 5 p.m. For me, this is the most wonderful time of the year. In fact, so first of all, Rocco Miller's been on the show before. He does a great job at his website, bracketeer.org, with Bracketology. He's on Field of 68. I'm watching them like every week. They're breaking things down a couple times a week. I love this time of year. Now, this is more my forte than it is Jim's. So I always tell Jim whenever we have a bracketologist on, like, you can truly sit the segment out.
Like you
I'm like,
want
just go.
to take over.
Yeah, I'm like, just leave.
You like, I don't want you to be involved.
You can if you want, but
well, thanks for coming on, Rocco.
Yeah.
Here's Jon.
All right. So Rocco Miller's back with it. Rocco, for you, again, I mean, you eat, sleep, breathe this stuff like I do. Once we get the calendar flipping to February, which is about to happen, I mean, is this your favorite time of year, like the lead up to the madness, or do you like it more once we have the bracket? Or this, to me, is the best time of the year, the 4 or 5 weeks leading up to it.
I think it's the most exciting for sure. And, you know, bracketology is a fun 2-month ride. I really try to wait to get involved till after more mature data comes in, like around mid-January. It's why you don't see many updates November through January for me. But I'm doing way more than bracketology, fellas. I'm doing analyst work, a TV broadcast now, scheduling in the off season. So it's become a 365-day operation in my world, but it's been pretty cool because you know, you do it all year long to get to this point, and with the transfer portal and so much player movement. I mean, Nicky Boyd, my boy from Florida Atlantic, is playing for the Aztecs now. I mean, that's just the world we're in. So this whole off season, just constant conversations with no real games to watch. It does get really exciting now to see, okay, how many of these rosters actually came together, and where did all the failures occur? Like, look what's going on at Miami right now. So it's a fascinating time in college sports, and you guys are so well supported with a great Aztecs program down there.
It's for another day, but one of the more underappreciated stories of the entire college basketball season, to your point, or the more under like covered stories, is Nick Boyd was on the floor. I mean, Lamont Butler shot over top Nick Boyd in that game in Houston. And now Nick Boyd is at San Diego State. I just think it's unbelievable that that's even possible, but that's where we are, like you said, with this freedom of movement in this new era. All right, so Rocco Miller's with us. Let's just start 30,000 foot. I think the Mountain West this year is really good. Now, it's not last year really good where they thread this needle and get 6 teams in, but the 30,000 foot view of the Mountain West, like you look at it and metrically as well, like there's 4, 5, 6 teams that have put together at least solid years, right?
I think so. Yeah, and I think teams have gotten better over the year too. I feel like Colorado State's one that I keep looking back. Every game they play, they're getting better. I think they might arguably have the best defense in the Mountain West right now, which usually yields great results in March in terms of either the Mountain West tournament or just finishing higher in the standings. They're sitting there with only 2 losses in the league. But unfortunately for them, early on in the year, they took a loss from half court to UC Riverside.
Yep.
And Riverside's not a bad team. I love Mike Magpio down there, and they just knocked off the 2 beasts of the Big West. But it's still a harmful home loss at quad 3. They lose a game to Colorado, their rival on the road. Now Colorado's winless in the Big 12. I think they fell to 0-8 last night. And Washington has been a disappointment in the Big 10. So they're owning 3 losses that are defining them. And that's some of the unfortunate breaks that can happen to a league like the Mountain West that's in, maybe 6th, 7th, 8th in the pecking order conference-wise. And we're going through an unprecedented situation with the SEC forecasted to have as many as 13 bids at this juncture. Now, I'm still doubtful they can get all 13 of those teams in by the time all these teams take enough losses, but I think they're feeling pretty good about getting 10 or 11 teams. And even leagues like the ACC and the Big East are, suffering from more famine than they're used to. And so what does that leave the Mountain West? Well, you have 3 teams right now, San Diego State included, that are clear tournament teams today. Like Utah State is on the most solid footing with their road win down there at Viejas, their road win at St. Mary's, other great wins across their resume, and only the 2 losses. So they're sitting pretty at this juncture. But you have San Diego State and New Mexico, who also have done great work in the non-conference. Anytime even if San Diego State drifts deeper into the bubble, a win away from home against Houston. I mean, what other bubble team's going to have something that strong? Not many, if any. And same goes for New Mexico with their win over UCLA. A lot of good work they've done. So, barring collapse, I do feel good about the league getting at least 3. And then you've got some upside with Colorado State and Boise State's remaining schedule. And then we'll see if a team like maybe a UNLV or Nevada can get hot, maybe at the Mountain West tournament to get the league an extra team.
All right, so Rocco Miller is with us right now, bracketologist on Jon and Jim, first bracketologist of the year. Should have about 60 between now and Selection Sunday. I'm kidding. So back to San Diego State for a moment, because we feel as if covering them here locally, like every game is a knife's edge. Rocco, you follow this. I mean, they won at Air Force at the buzzer, literally. 0.1 seconds, Wayne McKinney lays it in. Last night, they're down 21 at home to San Jose State. San Jose State's been good, but you can't be losing at home to the Spartans. They come all the way back and win the game by 3. I guess my question is, with this 20-game league schedule, they're halfway through their 7-3. There's 10 more games to go. I mean, do they have to avoid slipping up to one of these quote-unquote bottom schools in this? Like, can they afford a loss to San Jose State on the road? Can they afford a loss to whom else? At Wyoming and still get into the field or not?
Well, first of all, I would say they can absorb one really bad loss based on the fact that they have the wins against Creighton and Houston and road Boise and Nevada already in the bank. Now, Boise and Nevada are not tournament caliber teams at this juncture. However, Creighton and Houston are clearly tournament level. And so you can't take what's already been done. You also can't take away the fact that San Diego State's 7-2 away from home right now. That's, if not the best record out of all bubble teams, it's certainly one of them. Perhaps you could go as low as Drake to 8-1, but they're not a conventional bubble team from a bigger league. And I think San Diego State in general, if they do that on the road, like your Wyoming road example, or any other road example like San Jose State up here in the Bay Area, I think that would actually be a little bit more acceptable, because that's probably going to land in the 3rd quad instead of the 4th quad. Now, once you do that twice, then there's maybe an argument to be made that the bad is starting to outweigh the good. And that's really what it comes down to. For the selection committee with 12 members, they're looking at teams, what they like about teams and what they don't like. And right now, San Diego State's in a solid position because there's so much more to like than to pick apart. Yes, the close wins are concerning. Last night was concerning, but they're also finding ways to win with a youthful team. I mean, Gwath and Taj are freshmen. Davis, Bird, and Heidi are sophomores.
Yeah.
And so they're a kind of team that's projecting where when they go down, those close wins are actually going to help them, I think, from a basketball sense. So, we'll have to see how it plays out. Now, again, I do think there's room to absorb one of those horrible losses, but certainly don't want to take 2.
I'm glad you mentioned their youth real quick, because first of all, Rocco Miller's with us, bracketologist. And San Diego State, here's the other thing, and I'm curious to get your perspective on this. When a team plays without a player for an entire season, is it a factor? They've been without their only preseason all-conference player, Reese Waters, due to a foot injury. Their top returning scorer from last year's team was their 7th leading scorer. Now, he might be an NBA player in the future in Miles Bird, and he's been absolutely terrific. But they're 225th in experience. And from that point to every other team with least experience in the country, they're the only team vying right now for an at-large spot in the NCAA tournament. I guess my question is just this. How impressive is it what Brian Dutcher has done when you consider the fact, like you said, all the youth? Last night against San Jose State, they had 5 underclassmen on the floor in the final 5 minutes of the game. It's kind of like unprecedented what they're doing, right, with this youth.
It is, yeah. And I think if the same group of guys went and played for a different program or a different staff or what have you, it might not work. They might be a failing team for all the reasons you mentioned. But the reality is Brian Dutcher's got a well-oiled machine. They are the beasts of the Mountain West, and they've earned that title, and mainly because of effort, things that are related to effort, which is defense, which is rebounding, which are the things that have made the Aztecs program special over the years. This team's no different. I wake up this morning, I look at the metrics just like you guys. San Diego State's 9th in the country against effective field goal percentage, 9th in the country in defense, 9th in the country against 2-point percentage, 5th in the country at block percentage with this monster Gwath for the freshman. So they went and recruited to their style of play. It might not have been sexy to many other teams they were competing with at that same level, but it's certainly been effective. Just the fact that they beat Houston alone that early in the year, it tells you everything you need to know about how good this team can be, or just how annoying they can be to play against. I guess is a better way to put it. And so to me, the way that they're able to achieve results, yes, I do think you're right. Bird's a pro. I've talked to NBA scouts about him; they love him. But I think beyond that, this is a more Aztec tried and true, a team that the fan base, the show, everybody can get rallying behind because they play excellent defense and they're doing hustle plays to get these tough wins, and nothing's handed to them. You got to go out and earn a win against San Jose State. You got to go earn a win against Air Force. Some of that's more exciting, and obviously it's a lot more nerve-wracking, but that's the Aztec way most years.
Rocco Miller's with us. Rocco, before you go, I do want to ask you about UC San Diego, even UC Irvine. I mean, we've watched UC San Diego here firsthand against the Aztecs a ton. I mean, even as they transition from Division II. Last year, I don't know if you recall it, there's this incredible game. Jaden Ledias a putback at the buzzer off a Lamont Butler miss in La Jolla. Otherwise, the Aztecs lose that game. They literally won at the buzzer. This year was the opener. San Diego State trailed by 5 with 5 minutes to play, won the game by 5 points. It looks right now like a great win. Do UCSD or UC Irvine have at-large prospects if they don't win the league or not?
Well, I love both teams. So for UC San Diego, I was down in Daytona Beach, covered their dominant tournament run. They had a couple close games early in the tournament, but they won the championship game down there by 35 against Toledo, and I think put a lot of the mid-major people like myself on high notice as one of the top mid-majors in the country. That role's only continued. The win at Utah State is super fascinating, as Utah State only has 2 losses. One of them is against this Triton program in La Jolla, and obviously the setback at home to UC Irvine, followed by the setback against Riverside, has them on the outside looking in. They would need to run the table. They do get a road game on February 8th at UC Irvine. I'm heading down to Irvine for that one in a couple Saturdays. If that's a win and they win out the rest of them, I think they're back in an interesting situation, because that'll be a quad 1 road win. Obviously, they can't get that anywhere else in the Big West, and they can't afford any slip-ups. On the Irvine side of things, they're pretty much right next to the cutoff right now. But again, if they're in the at-large situation, they're going to have to take it at the loss, and that might just be too much to push the Anteaters out. It's so brutal, because UC Irvine right now is 11-3 in true road games. Nobody else comes close to 11 road wins on the bubble. They play most of their non-league games on the road. I helped with that schedule. I was on the call for their games in Canada, and they're an impressive team. They've also absorbed 2 season-ending injuries to Andre Henry and to Redfield at that tournament I covered. So they're so deep and they're so connected. It's fascinating. I would love there to be a world where they both get in. Perhaps the only way it can happen is if UC San Diego goes and wins at Irvine to get them back to where they were, and then losing the finals to the same Irvine team. But yeah, they need to hit an inside straight, and it's really unfortunate.
No doubt about it. Rock, always appreciate it, man. Enjoy your work. Enjoy your work on social media. And again, when I see on Field of 68 or bracketeer.org, so I always look forward to that. I appreciate you taking time for us here in San Diego, and hopefully we can have you back one more time before Selection Sunday.
It was great talking to you, Rocco.
Yeah, my pleasure, fellas. Anytime, guys.
Rocco Miller, bracketeer.org. But on the other side,
That might have been my best interview ever.
you were really good.
I was really good. That one question I asked, dude, really good, right?
We have a developing Padres story.
We do.
The Mets have spoken to the Padres about whom?
What?
That's next on Jon and Jim. right, hit us up on the Talkback mic. Just open the free iHeartRadio app. Listen to the San Diego Sports 760. Not the San. Whatever. Just
The San Diego.
Just open the talk. If you want to do Talkback, figure it out.
Click the little red.
It's not hard,
microphone.
right?
Yeah.
It's like they don't do like you don't see like Delta doesn't do promos like, hey, you want Delta plane ticket? Just go to delta.com. You know, it's not hard.
You're so mad.
I don't know. I have no idea. I like the talkbacks.
I do
You
too.
go open the app, click on 760, click on the microphone, leave your reaction, and then we'll play it on air. So, okay, here's the developing story. Jim had it first. And by Jim having it first, I like saying that. This is Pat Ragazzo. Everyone knows Pat Ragazzo, right?
Yeah,
Mets and Yankees reporter on Sports Illustrated.
Right.
Sources, Mets have spoken to the Padres about Dylan Cease and Michael King, who are available via trade. Braves, among others, also interested in both pitchers.
Interesting. In the article, he says, at this point in time, it seems the Mets have shown more interest in Michael King. Moving a top 10 to 15 ranked prospect in their farm system for King is one scenario that the Mets and Padres have discussed. It's unknown what else a potential trade package would include, but the Mets have been trying to trade outfielder/DH Starling Marte this offseason and are willing to pay down a portion of his salary.
You pay the thing all the way down.
Like all of it?
What's he make?
I don't know, but can you pay like 98% of that thing?
So Starling Marte makes $20 million.
So you need to pay 19.5 of it.
And he's coming off a 0.7 WAR season.
And when you look at the Padres' needs, they need an outfielder.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't be that inspired by a trade of Michael King for a package involving Starling Marte.
I mean, isn't he kind of done?
How long is his contract?
I think it's over. I mean, he's old, dude.
I know.
His deal ends in 2025. $20.75 million.
So it's a swap of 1 year deals.
So, okay. King for Marte plus a top 10 prospect, and they eat the salary of Marte by and large.
Nope.
Yeah, I agree. Because Marte hasn't been good for the last 2 years.
No.
And this whole, well, you're filling a need, but is he really filling it?
No, you're filling a need and making what is right now a strength, which is the top of your rotation, worse.
Michael King struck out 28 Braves or whatever it was.
It was more than that.
He struck out everyone.
Yeah.
And you're going to
14.
go get the top first base prospect in the Mets organization that's going to be here in 2 years. Now, again, we're speculating. Maybe you get 3 top 15 prospects. Maybe it does make sense.
How this thing has turned to where, because they can't get a deal done with Michael King in arbitration, that he is becoming like a huge talking point in trade discussions.
I mean, why can't they get a deal done, though? We're talking about $1.4 million. They're going to get a deal done. He either wins or they win. And the difference is $1 million. But this confirms what Ken Rosenthal wrote this week, which was they are shopping these 2 pitchers. So this is additional reporting to support the claim that the Padres are listening on King and Cease.
He also says here, let me just pull this up, that the Braves are another team who are in need of starting pitching and have talked to the Padres about Dylan Cease and Michael King, according to sources. Cease and King would be obviously 1 year rentals, but that doesn't mean San Diego's asking price isn't high. According to sources, it certainly is for Michael King. Or no, sorry, Dylan Cease, my bad.
Braves, Cease, Mets more interested in King. And by the way, you cannot move both of these players.
Dude, if they moved both of these guys, Cease to the Braves and King to the Mets, then we're done. The season's over.
By the way, I wouldn't like trading either of them to either of those 2 teams because both of those teams are vying for the postseason. I mean, you could argue that one of them's just getting in.
Right.
But there's the Phillies in there too. Trading in the National League with contenders,
And you've said it. You said, look, they're going to make a cost-cutting move. They have to.
I know they will.
From everything they say, they're going to make a cost-cutting move. This is not something that I think anybody can get behind. Tell me that the front office would be excited about this. They're not. They wouldn't be. They're not like, yeah, we traded Michael King for a top 15 prospect and a Starling Marte. No one would be happy about that. Not even Preller. Nobody.
Not even, I'm with you. I'm with you. All right. Well, we'll react to that story that is developing throughout the course of the next 90 minutes. But on the other side, we do have Chase Fischer back with us friends of the show, CEO, founder of Blender Sunglasses. They are doing great work in the community with the Mesa Foundation. They'll have another sunglass release supporting men's and women's basketball. Do we want to sneak in Jesse for 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
Jesse, you got 30 seconds. He wants to talk about this possibility with the Mets. Jesse, you're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey, guys, I just wanted to point out that the Mets have a bunch of ready-made major league prospects in their system they have no room for, like a Ronnie Mauricio. You could even consider Acuna, Brett Beatty. They have some pitchers as well. So 1 year for King, where he had a great year, but he hasn't been proven over the span of like 5 years, I think, either. So
That's
these are things to consider.
And that's fair. I mean, if they have high-level prospects that are like fully baked and ready to contribute and you control for multiple years and your scouting department has done the work necessary to assure that they're going to be on your big league team and paying dividends. Like if you got a couple of guys that can pay dividends, okay.
But the Mets aren't trading one of the guys that Jesse just talked about for 1 year of Michael King.
Probably true. All right, more on that. We're here until 6 p.m. Chase Fischer, CEO of Blender Sunglasses, joins us next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. San Diego State last night, coming back from a 21-point deficit, their largest come from behind victory since 2017 over San Jose State. They won the game. Next up, they'll take on Wyoming this Saturday night at Viejas Arena, 5 p.m. tip, 4 p.m. pregame. You can listen to the game right here on San Diego Sports 760. And baseball news of the day, Ha-Seong Kim has signed a 2-year, $29 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. Milo's Rewards Week is coming. It's kind of a big deal. Members get ready for up to 40% off store-wide on hundreds of items. Join for free today. Loyalty program, subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms, subject to change.
All right, love having Chase Fischer, CEO and founder of Blenders Eyewear, with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. They've done so much good work in the community with San Diego State Collectives, Mesa Foundation, and they're partnering again with Mesa Foundation. It was awesome a year ago. You're back at it again this March as well. So first of all, Chase, great to have you back with us here in San Diego. I know you're doing some shooting today on campus at San Diego State. So tell us about this campaign for 2025, and thanks again for joining us.
What's up, Jon? I'm so excited to be here, man. Yeah, I'm actually at the shoot right now. It's so cool. So we're doing season 2 with the San Diego State basketball team. This year we've added in women's as well. So we're really trying to boost their program. So yeah, we're building on what we've been building. You know, we're trying to pioneer this new path in NIL, and no better place to do it than home.
Chase, can you tell us why it's so important, you know, as a San Diego State alum, you know, to give back here to the community and especially San Diego State?
I mean, look, this is the next generation, you know, and we like to fuel the next generation of talent, and this is it. And so for me, this is nostalgic. This is emotional. This is personal. I went to school here. I take a lot of pride in this campus, and the success of the program means a lot to me. So I'm just proud to be at the helm to be able to, you know, support the program in a very unique and cool way.
So what can you tell our listeners about this? Because I recall last year, and correct me if I'm wrong, you put these on sale. They sold out like instantaneously. All the Mesa Foundation glasses that were benefiting NIL from Blenders sold out immediately. So what do you want our listeners to know about 2025 and how these will be available and how they grab them?
Yeah, so last year was huge. The biggest problem is we just didn't order enough. This year we ordered a lot more. We have a new style as well, which is exciting. Every year we try to spice up with something new and fresh. This one's actually a little bit more affordable, $49, and it's more of like a 90s 2000 vibe, which is really hot right now. So players love it. They've been wearing them all day. They can't take them off. And I think the community is going to love them as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about, you know, the players' reaction to sunglasses. I see videos of you unveiling sunglasses to the players all the time. And every single video, they are like genuinely like excited about seeing these new sunglasses and being a part of this. And what's the reaction that you have seen personally by, you know, giving back here to the NIL for San Diego State?
It's always so fun to see the reaction. You know, so much goes into the process, right? It takes us months to create these things and then to actually unveil them to the players. It's like Miles Bird was going over the moon. He was like, oh my God, these are so cool. So, yeah, that's a special moment. And the players take a lot of pride in this. You know, like we have a unique opportunity to really connect with the players, and the product is that emotional connection between the players and the fans. So it's cool that the community gets to be involved in this, you know, and it's a piece of their journey. And so, yeah, I just take a lot of pride in it. And so the players, it's awesome.
Chase Fischer is with us, CEO and founder of Blenders, with us here on Jon and Jim. What's it been like for you to have that like experiences with these student athletes, men's and women's basketball, working with the Mesa Foundation, like getting that access? I mean, it's just so fun to interact, isn't it? Like we see them all on floor, but it's great to have that experience with them off the floor as well.
Absolutely. It's amazing. You know, it actually reminds me when I was a kid, I was a surfer and I was a sponsored surfer working with companies trying to get sponsored by brands. And, you know, I didn't make it in basketball, but I was a pretty good surfer. And so it kind of takes me back to being a child a little bit again, of just like working with athletes and working with brands. But this time I'm on the other side and I have a bigger presence and a bigger influence. So it's cool. You know, these players want to learn about this stuff too. They care about it. They want to get curious about how can they brand themselves better? How can they build their stock levels better? How can they learn how to market themselves better? And this is what it's all about. So, you know, helping them is super fun for me.
And what would you say to other businesses, you know, in the community that have yet to get involved in the NIL space, specifically with, you know, San Diego State?
I think the NIL space for me and just the Mesa Foundation specifically has allowed a much more personal approach, which was missing before. And so for me, that's been a big, I've had a lot of fun with that. So I would say if you're a business owner, doing what we do, get involved, man. Get personal. Go out there and like show your face, shake their hands, learn about these players, ask them questions, take them to lunch, like really understand how you can support them and get to know them. The best deals in the game are ones that have emotional connection. And this has really allowed us to create a connection with the players, which I think is super important in partnerships. So, I think that emotional connection is what I would say that you need to develop in order to create a partnership that's going to be worthwhile and worth building on.
And NIL, I mean, it's just so critically important. I mean, you've gotten to know these players, Chase, over the years. We've seen the success that San Diego State has had in men's and women's basketball. It takes NIL resources. It's as simple as that. When you have players playing at San Diego State that are going to reach the NBA potentially at some point, the NIL space matters. You and your company have donated tens of thousands of dollars. So for our listeners, they can, again, impact in this space in a small way. These are going to be available when? In early March?
These are going to be available March 2nd, and we're going to do a big release at the store in Pacific Beach. We'll have the players there, both men's and women's. We'd love to get you guys out there too, John. It'd be super fun. We did it last year. It was awesome. The community came out as well. So if you're available March 2nd, which is going to be Sunday, please come out. Stay tuned for details on that because it's coming down the pipe. But NIL is the future, and we're paving the way.
Yeah, it absolutely is the future. What goes in the process of designing these sunglasses? Because I feel like sunglasses, there's endless possibilities. But for you, designing these, and I'm sure you have a team as well that helps you in designing the sunglasses. What's the process like to get to this point?
Yeah, so the process is pretty intricate. I mean, look, we got to plan these things out pretty far in advance, and you got to think about what's going to be popular at that time. So we're anywhere from 3, 6, 9 to 12 months out at any given time. So, one, you got to be relevant, right? Part of having a brand is being relevant. You want to make sure your styles are relevant, but you also want to make sure that the players have a part in that process too, because then they get more invested in that process. So, giving them sneak peeks, getting their feedback, and making sure that they're going to be excited about it because they're the ones that are going to be wearing it. So. But yeah, we also like to make stuff that we think is cool and that we would wear ourselves, like we're our customer, right? And so, we're very close to the product. We're very close with the community and what's coming down the pipeline in terms of what's popular, but we also like to make stuff that we would wear ourselves. So it's more of like a personal thing too.
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, we love the brand. Again, Blenders Eyewear. We love your support of the Mesa Foundation and this NIL space and how it impacts San Diego State's student athletes. So Chase, appreciate you taking time. We're excited for this launch. 2024 was incredible. Can't wait for this March when our listeners can get their hands on another pair of Blenders sunglasses supporting the Mesa Foundation. So thanks for hopping on. Best of luck with the shoot, and we'll do it again soon. All
Thanks,
right?
Chase.
Rock and roll. Thanks, guys.
Great stuff. Chase Fischer, Blenders Eyewear, CEO and founder.
Well,
Yeah,
it's great.
he enjoyed being on with me.
He really did.
He did.
Maybe you'll get the invite next year.
I love Jim's like awkward laugh. Like, yeah, I enjoyed being on with me. Like, yeah, he did.
Let me ask you a serious question,
Yeah.
because you saw Chase today.
No, I didn't, because here's the thing. Our show's now 4 hours.
What?
So, and this kind of started too, but I was there like in the 1 o'clock hour, and so I kind of missed him.
Okay.
But I was over there earlier.
Okay. So,
but we have a good relationship.
Okay.
Because I've gotten a chance to know him through all kinds of San Diego State initiatives.
all right, let's go behind the curtain.
You met him, I think, last year.
I did. I met him
some point.
at a
Snapdragon. Yep.
at a football game. Behind the curtain. How'd you set this up? This interview?
Through San Diego State Mesa Foundation.
Okay. So you didn't talk to Chase directly?
No, I did actually. We did. Yeah, we've gone back and forth.
Okay.
But then after he said, "Hey, I'll see you on Wednesday," I said, "Yeah, looking forward to it." And then through Mesa or San Diego State is how
So
it came up.
my question is, when you talked to him, did you say, "Hey, yeah, can't wait to join me and Jim today"?
I never tell anyone
Right.
that they're joining.
That's what my point
me and
is.
my co-host. I just say-
yeah.
I like I'll say like Rocco Miller.
Hey, you wanna come on
do
with
you
me?
want to come on my show?
Right. And there's never once a mention of
No,
Jim.
I'm not like no.
That's my point.
Maybe that probably has something to do with it.
A little,
Maybe a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, potentially.
Potentially a little, yeah.
Are you bothered?
No,
You're not bothered.
No, I think it's funny because I'm like, oh, just screw me. I'll just go over here and just sit in the corner, I guess.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
Thanks for joining us on Jon Jim. Hey, John, how you doing, buddy?
That happens all the time.
What?
It's great.
It's amazing.
David J. Matt Friars will join me at 5 p.m. on the John Show.
But I got David J.
You did get David J.
Yeah. So,
maybe he'll just be like, Jim, thanks for having me.
but I'm really good with saying us and Jon and Jim and me and my co-host John Schaefer.
It's not as much of my forte.
It really isn't. I'm invisible to you.
That's not true. You're not invisible to me next week when I'm away.
I will be invisible
hey, Jim,
to you.
will you do the show, please, while I'm gone.
You will literally be invisible to
I'm
me
gonna
next
text
week.
people to come on and be like, hey, do you want to come on with me? And they'll just be you.
Like, hey, John, how you doing? Like, well, excuse me?
Oh my gosh. We will get back, by the way, in the 5 o'clock hour. We can get David J's thoughts on it. Like, are the Mets a decent trade partner for someone like Michael King because of their system?
No. That's not. I don't even
fair.
want. It's a fair question.
It's a fair question.
But it's a question that should not have even be asked. The question should be asked: how can they get better as a team to win this year? That does not involve trading Michael King or Dylan Cease.
I agree, but we said the same thing last year with Soto.
You know what?
You're right.
I'm done. What's the point? Because if you're not trying to win now,
Yeah.
and you're putting things off, you're going to be a worse team this year if you trade away those players. You're not going to be better.
But that's what I said last year when they traded Soto, and then they were better.
Well, then they traded for Dylan Cease, and that was great.
Right.
They traded for Luis Ariz, and that was great. Do you see those trades happening with this team this year, early on in the season, where they trade for a frontline starter and a batting champ?
Hear me out. You're Preller.
Okay.
You move King, you get prospects, you trade those prospects for more starting pitching, and you keep some of the prospects, and maybe some of the starting pitching you acquire is less than 14 million.
You could. I mean, you flipped Drew
flipping.
Thorpe for Dylan Cease. I get that.
And that's the thing with Preller, like those options do exist. He's got the blank canvas. He's thought about it all. I'm sure he's 2-3 steps down the path. Like, if I move King, what does it return me? What can I get for that return?
He's the scene from It's Always Sunny where I forget his name, but he's on the whiteboard and it's the meme and he's like coming up with like 30,000 different scenarios of like, all right, I gotta think
Who
about
is
this.
Pepe Silva?
Yeah, exactly.
I do think they have the scenario. Listen, before I go doom and gloom on the idea of moving King or Cease, I don't like it either. I don't like it, but if they have to do it, make it the best possible return and see how it can potentially help you both now and down the road. But yeah, I'm with you. I prefer to keep Cease and King. I think it's part of Dan Szymborski's projections to get to 88, 89 wins. All right. Who wants free tickets to see Creed this summer at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater? This is 2 free tickets to see Creed. Jim's been singing the songs.
Can you take me higher?
That sounds like 0.5 playback. You're too slow. Wednesday, August 6th.
I was
all right?
building up.
2 free tickets to see Creed. Can you take me higher?
I'm way better. I'm way better than you.
I think maybe. Call 877-767-4760. First 2 callers will be our contestants for trivia. Again, we have 2 free tickets to see Creed here in San Diego Wednesday, August 6th. All you have to do is call 877-767-4760. Again, 877-767-4760. Call right now. Then we'll get back to the possibility of the Mets and the Padres trading for either Michael King or Dylan Cease. Stay with us. Benefit concert is happening tomorrow, raising money for rebuilding communities devastated by the wildfires and supporting efforts to prevent future fire disasters throughout here in Southern California. Broadcast on iHeartRadio stations nationwide and our free iHeartRadio app. Donations and concert information. You can visit fireaidla.org. That's fireaidla.org. We'll get to Trainwreck Radio momentarily. We'll get back to this. I mean, this report that follows up on Ken Rosenthal that Michael King or Dylan Cease could be moved. A report out of New York today that the Mets may be interested in either King or Cease. We'll get back to that in the 5 o'clock hour.
It's not just the Mets. It's
Braves.
Also the Braves that are involved with Dylan Cease. Look, if they trade both these pitchers to the Mets and the Braves for a bunch of prospects.
Not both. I mean, even that's a bridge too far. Don't you agree? Organizationally, from they even know. Let's say AJ Pro said, "I'll win both of these trades, but it's a bridge too far." The perception, like, I will win these hands down. I can win them. I don't think we should do it because the perception would be awful.
Yeah, I hope Preller would put his foot down. Like, I'm not doing this.
Can't do both. They can. I mean, these are affordable starting pitchers.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if
it'd be a problem.
It's a big if.
It's a big problem.
If they traded both of these players, the season would be over. No, I'm serious.
It wouldn't be good. I don't know, but it wouldn't be good. Yeah, it would be over.
You don't think the season would be over?
But that's why it's not happening.
I know, but again,
if it happened, yes.
If it happened, season's done. It's cooked. All right. And unfortunately, we would go into just trade everybody then mode. Like, screw it. Get rid of Arise. Get rid of get rid of Suarez. Like, can you try to get rid of Cronenworth? Like, it would turn into, that would become a fire sale. The start of a fire sale would begin with if they traded Dylan Cease and Michael King.
Oh, I mean, everyone would freak out. You can't sell out season ticket memberships and have Dylan Cease, Michael King dual bobblehead night and move them both.
Yeah, you're right. You can't afford to. I think trading one of them is a mistake. I would look to trade Robert Suarez first in this scenario,
right?
Because he's making $10 million this year.
Yeah, and you can keep your starting pitching. You got back end bullpen.
Yeah,
you got good. Back
Jason Adam, bullpen. Jeremiah Estrada, congratulations! You're the closers of this team. You can go get another bullpen piece for nothing. Trade for a low-level prospect for a bullpen piece. You already got the guy. What's his name? Ronnie
Acuna.
No, not Acuna. The Italian guy.
Marciano.
Yeah. You got him.
You can easily, if you trade a Robert Suarez, no one's going to be like, I can't believe that. I mean, again, he's a nice piece. He makes a lot of money.
$10 million.
Yeah.
And he has, I think, an opt-in for 16 after that.
If you can get a nice return for him and free up 10, 11 million right now,
you're probably not going to get much for him because he's a closer. But you get, say someone's top 10 prospect. That's a lot to ask for a closer.
Plus freeing up money.
Top 15.
But now you got money to use.
Top 20. It's all about the money with him. You trade Suarez. I could stomach that and I can understand that and I'd be fine with it. You trade one of King or Cease.
Yeah, it feels more impactful.
It just feels like the path that you're going down this season is going to be, congratulations, you finished in third place and you missed the postseason.
David J. Matt Friars on the Padres and their system at 5 p.m. right now. Let's play.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Donald and we have Mario. Donald, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
John.
Wow, that was definitive.
That was very enthusiastic.
Donald and John?
Not even touching Jim.
I kind of like the name of the show, John and Don.
I'm in.
All right, he's in.
He's in. I'm out.
Sorry,
great. Mario,
Are you cool with constantly being forgotten, Donald?
Yeah, it's a part of the gig. Mario, you get me, okay? Jim.
All right, Jim, I got you.
All right, perfect, buddy. Brent, what is the question of the day?
All right, guys. Yesterday, the Warriors announced that they are going to retire Andre Iguodala's number.
Blasphemy, according to Rob Parker.
Yeah, I know. What a joke. Iguodala is 20th all-time in steals in NBA history. Today's question, name anybody that's in the top 8 for all-time NBA steals leaders.
Oh, all-time steals leaders. Easy. Mario, you're up first. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm going to maybe start with Gary Payton.
Gary Payton?
The glove, top 8 all time.
The glove?
He almost has to be with that nickname.
Yeah.
And he was.
Donald, you're up next. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Yeah, I'll use a lifeline right out of the gate here.
Ooh.
I mean, I have no idea. But all-time steals leaders, I'll just go with guys that have played for forever. Steals, though, like, hold on, give me 1 second because I'm just thinking about like a good basketball player. All-time steals. We're talking about steals. I mean, LeBron James. Just because.
Do you take that, Donald?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Jim.
What are you laughing at me for?
I don't know. Because 21 years, I'm just figuring he stole the ball a lot.
Yeah, good guess. Mario, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
All right. Well, if LeBron is on there, I'm going to go with Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan on the
Yeah.
list. Multiple-time defensive player of the year. How you doing?
Okay.
Donald, you're up. What's your next guess? You don't have a lifeline, so it's all up to you.
I'm going to say Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson. Must be nice.
No. I thought that, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't play enough. Yeah. Mario, back to you. You could walk off with the correct answer here. What do you got? You also have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm trying to think of some defensive greats. Maybe even somebody old school. How about Bill Russell?
Bill Russell,
Steals?
no lifeline needed. Oh, no.
Oh,
you had a lifeline.
Bill Russell wasn't like getting into the passing lanes, was he?
He was getting to the rebound
They
lane.
have really long arms.
Donald, you could send this thing to overtime. What's your final guess? But this is all up to you since you have no lifeline.
Yeah. Oh my God. Boy, I'm thinking here. How about? Oh boy. Let's see.
5 seconds.
God, I'm thinking. I can't think of the guy's name. I want to say. Oh my God, I'm totally blanking out on his name. Let's just go with. How about? God, the guy from the Rockets, Akeem Olajuwon.
Hakeem Olajuwon. No.
This is steals, not
Wait,
rebounds.
is this over? What's the score of this game?
It's 2-1.
Mario won.
Mario won 2-1.
First of all, this is amazing. Oh, by the way, the guy who said Clyde, who was the guy who said the Rams quarterback? And we laughed hysterically.
Yeah.
He came up
Steve
to me last
DeBerg or
night
something?
outside.
Oh, really?
He's like, Clyde Gilbert? I'm like, he's like, that was me. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That was one of the funniest
So
answers
good.
ever. I'm going to say,
Yeah.
is John Stockton on the list?
Number 1.
Chris Paul on the list?
Number 3.
All right, there you go.
I have the list in front of me. Is Jason Kidd on the list? I Googled it right now because I'm curious. I'm fascinated. So give us the list.
All right, Stockton's number 1. Kidd is number 2. Chris Paul is 3. Jordan was 4. Gary Payton was 5. LeBron was 6. Maurice Cheeks was
Great
7.
man. Mo Cheeks. yeah.
And Scottie Pippen was number 8.
By the way, I'm looking at
Magic
the
was
list.
23rd, by the way.
Hakeem is 10th all time.
Yeah.
So wasn't that bad of a guess?
Yeah, Hakeem is 10th
He
all
was an
time.
awesome defender.
By the
though.
way, Stockton has 600 more steals than anyone. Still, he has 600 more steals than anyone. That's crazy to me. All right.
Okay.
David J. will join us on the other side. Congratulations, Mario. You're going to see Creed Wednesday, August 6th, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. All right, David J. on the top prospects, Leo DeVries, also Ethan Salas on the state of the Padres heading into 2025, and much, much more. David J. from Mad Friars joins us next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. San Diego State with a huge come-from-behind victory last night over San Jose State, largest come-from-behind victory since 2017 as they beat San Jose State last night. Next up, they'll take on Wyoming at Viejas Arena this Saturday, 5 p.m. start time, 4 p.m. pregame. You can listen to the game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Baseball news of the day, Hassan Kim signed a 2-year, $29 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. My Lowe's Rewards Week is coming. It's kind of a big deal. Members get ready for up to 40% off store-wide on hundreds of items. Join for free today. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms, subject to change.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of Jon and Jim. Hard to believe, but spring training is just a couple of weeks away, and it is great to reconnect with David J. at Mad Friars. They've been doing it for 20 years. It's an amazing resource for Padres fans, madfriars.com. And David J. back with us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. So, David, we appreciate it. We're looking forward to 2025. There's a lot of places we can go, obviously, minor leagues and major leagues. Just on these prospect rankings that are coming out right now, we saw ESPN.com. We've seen Baseball America. We see Leo DeVries and Ethan Salas among these top prospects in baseball. What do you make of it? I think Salas in Baseball America was in the 30s among the top 100 prospects. Kylie McDaniel today had him as the 22nd best prospect in baseball. What do you make of where Salas is today compared to maybe when he entered the organization a year and a half ago or so?
Yeah, good to talk to you guys. Thanks for the chance to hop on. Yeah, and you look at it right now, and you hit it on the head. The Baseball America's got Ethan at 31 and Leo DeVries at 18, whereas you turn it around and Keith Law's got them almost exactly flip-flopped with Salas at 17 and DeVries at 31. Kylie's for his ESPN rating somewhere in the middle there. So, what you're seeing is that both of these guys are clearly held in high regard across baseball. And then you get sort of different reactions to the somewhat underwhelming offensive year Salas had, and how many people think that's a reason to worry, and how many people think that's a blip that's going to be part of his development story. And the best way to tell that is going to be actually using the eyes in 4 weeks here when they're in camp. But I think both of them are getting exactly the sort of attention that you would expect for the players with their pedigrees who've had the 2 years in Salas's case and 1 year in DeVries' case since they signed.
So if Ethan Salas, let's just say hypothetically this year he puts up close to the same numbers he did last year, is that any cause for concern, or is it just like, hey, it's the minors, like you got to look at the little things here and not look at at some numbers that might not be indicative of his overall true talent?
Yeah, I think if the overall production stays where it was last year, that is certainly concerning. Mm-hmm. But the thing with Ethan in particular is you look at the underlying numbers, the swing decisions, the chase rate, the ability to recognize pitches, the quality contact rates, all look good. And in the context of being a kid who's younger than the guy who's almost certainly going to be the number 1 overall pick in this coming summer's draft, and he was doing it at high A, it's not a massive concern. And what you're hearing now from folks is, hey, worst case scenario is he's an elite defensive catcher, which is the sort of thing that gets one a very long career and lots of money in MLB. And, if that's your worst case, if that's your floor, then it's not a bad place to be.
David J. Matt Fryer's with us right now. We're talking about the catching position with Salas. We saw the signing of Elias Diaz. We had it as part of our open. Is it an indictment on Luis Campusano or not that Diaz and
tell me I'm an idiot, David.
And who else? Martin Maldonado,
Yeah.
the 38-year-old on the minor league deal. Again, catchers can take longer times to develop. I mean, what role do you see Campusano playing here in 2025 and potentially beyond?
He's in that category of players. You look up the road at Joe Adell, who was an outfielder for the Angels, who was a consensus top 5 player a few years ago and has really struggled to make the transition to the big leagues. So you see that with some players. I think it would be totally unwise of the organization to go into the year assuming, hey, this is going to be the year that Luis figures it out and is able to be a difference maker for us. So having a plan that doesn't rely on that is obviously important for the organization. Is it is he going to figure it out? The tools are all there. He's a guy who's had trouble, keeping consistency defensively. I think he's a guy who, he's sort of a tough personality to figure out, and he's got a short leash at this point, obviously.
Yeah, and they brought in multiple catchers that we'll probably see this year. David, when you look at the state of the franchise, you obviously know the farm system better than anybody, but when you look at the state of, all right, they need these guys to be good for them or else this is going to be a problem. How much stock do you put in? Yeah, Salas and DeVries, like, they have to hit it. Do both of them have to hit in your opinion, or does one of them have to hit in your opinion? Like, what's your opinion on those two guys going forward here?
As an organization that has north of $100 million committed to players who are going to be, 38 or older at the start of the next decade, they're going to have guys come through who can be really strong big league contributors. Do they need both of these guys to be superstars? No, it'd sure be nice to have one of them turn out to be a superstar and the other be a longtime big league player. But as much as they need those two guys to hit, they really are going to need some guys to come up and be solid big league contributors in those pre-arbitration years. In some ways, getting Eggy Rosario to be a 2-WAR player for them would be every bit as important as getting, Leo DeVries to be a 6-WAR player. It's not as sexy, but the organization's going to need some of that.
And so outside of DeVries and Salas, the two players that are inside the top 100 list for the Padres, what can you tell us about the other players in the Padres organization? Because they don't just have those two guys. They field a bunch of players. That's it. That's all they have. So what can you tell us about, the other players that are outside the top 100?
Yeah, and I think you've got a sort of core group of pitching prospects that are the next tier in the system. The next three pretty clearly, whatever order you put them in, are the two kids out of last year's draft, Cash Mayfield and Boston Bateman, and then Humberto Cruz, who they signed out of Mexico last February, who they went out to get additional pool space to be able to sign him last year. I think those three guys are very clearly in the mix. And if you talk about pitchers across the game who people haven't seen in minor league action yet, who I think everybody's excited to see, those three names are very much at the top of the list for the system. Then you've got a whole collection of arms, the Henry Baez and Victor Lizarraga and Ryan Bergert and Isaiah Lowe, who are all sort of in at, breaking net, who all are interesting pitching prospects with some flaws. But again, if you can get to the point where in 2026, you've got some combination of those guys putting up, league average or slightly even below league average numbers for 200 innings of starting, that would be a massive help to this organization.
That's really good insight. David J. with Mad Friars with us right now on Jon and Jim. So you see some of these reports out there that maybe they're listing on a Michael King or a Dylan Cease entering their final year of arbitration eligibility. They're free agents after 2025. From your seat, the payroll constrictions they're dealing with, the organization, major and minor league. Could you justify it? Is there something to be said for potentially moving one of those starting pitchers here prior to 2025? Could that be beneficial or not from your seat?
Obviously the answer is it depends on what you get back. To me, I think they'd be better positioned if they could move Arias and Suarez and get a couple of pieces back. I think if you're looking to shave $20 million out of payroll, that then allows you to go out and still sign, one of the free agent first basemen who's out there, or a couple of players at that $5 million a year range, 5 to 7. I think they're probably better positioned to be able to do that than they are to backfill if they trade off one of those starting pitchers. But, again, it really depends. It's pretty clear that nobody outside the front office, and maybe not within the front office, really knows what the number for this year is. So, all of the answers are based on, it depends on what you can get back, and it depends on what you're actually allowed to spend this year.
Yeah, good point. Makes sense. Yeah. What was your opinion on the Profar contract? Too much, lower than what you thought, or just about right?
I said coming into the offseason that if you looked at the top 100 free agents across the game, the two I had the hardest trouble figuring out a number on were the two Padres, were Profar and Kim.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to suggest that the underlying, that the jump in performance for Profar last year was real. And there's literally nobody with a career profile like his who, did better at 34 than at 31. And so, I think it's a reasonable number for him to have gotten. I think it would have been a number, again, for the Padres that would have been hard to get to.
Yeah, for the Padres,
I think it's the two things can be true theory, which is like it's fair, but it doesn't necessarily mean the Padres were in the market of adding $14 million per year for Profar. Okay, it's good for Profar. I don't know if it's good for the Padres, but they didn't have that money. I mean, when they look at their needs, that's a lot of money. But especially with what they're dealing with. I mean, we think they might be shedding payroll. So are you really adding? I mean, they paid him $1 million last year.
Yeah, if they're going to arbitration with Michael King,
yeah, you really
they're not going to pay 14 a year for Profar or Kim and give up those long-term contracts.
Real quick, David, on that before you go, what do you make of that? I mean, they haven't gone to arbitration with a player under Preller. There's reportedly a $1.475 million difference between the Padres and King. What do you make of this potentially going to arbitration?
I think King, to some extent, answered the question when he did that appearance on Corey Kluber's podcast, whenever that was, 2 weeks ago now. Mm-hmm. That he's sort of a unique profile. The way arbitration works is you're really comparing you're looking for the most direct comparables, and for a guy who spent the first 4 years as a swingman reliever and only really emerged as a starter last year, there just aren't any of those. And so, he certainly recognized why there could be a gap there. What do I make of it as I don't know that I'd read too much into it being a bigger statement about, the state of the world, either for Preller or the ownership situation. And while they have been a file and trial organization, at least theoretically, there's nothing to say that they wouldn't actually figure something out before they go to the hearings, which will be in a couple of weeks.
Sure. David, always appreciate it, man. We're excited for baseball coming up in a couple of weeks. David J. And again, for our listeners, you got to get to Mad Friars. Just a terrific resource for San Diego Padres fans. So thank you, David. We'll do it again soon, all right?
Absolutely. Good to talk to you guys.
Great stuff from David J. On the other side, back to the report that Dylan Cease or Michael King could be on the move this offseason. That's next year on Jon and Jim. All right, again, iHeart's got the new app with presets. You can download it today in app stores. Make sure to put Jon and Jim and San Diego Sports 760 in your presets. We're here until 6 p.m. We're reacting to a report that came out this afternoon that states the Mets' interest in both Dylan Cease and Michael King. They've had talks, according to this report, for both King and Cease. Atlanta has been involved as well. And it confirms what Ken Rosenthal reported earlier in the week, that the Padres are listening on both King and Cease. Is this a smoke fire situation? Like, is this an inevitability that either Dylan Cease or Michael King moves? Maybe that's too far, an inevitability, but between King, Cease, Arise, Suarez, is that an inevitability? One of those players moves between now and opening day?
Dude, you said it.
I've been saying it. I kind of feel that way.
That there's going to be a cost-cutting move at some point. Because
seems like it.
How could you just be like, okay, we're going to keep this team as it is? They still need to add pieces too. Like, they are not done yet. Not even close to a finished product.
Right.
Unless they truly are going to just say, hey, Brandon Lockridge and Tirso, just go play left field.
Right.
Like, okay, good luck. Their bench is just like who? A bunch of minor league guys, minor league invites.
Yeah, backup catcher. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they're going to make other moves, it kind of feels like there can't be those moves made without a cost-cutting move in there. As David J told us a couple minutes ago, and I agree with him, I would much rather have them offload a Robert Suarez. Luis Arise, I don't know about that one, but I can understand it. You're not going to get much back for Luis Arise. You're not really going to get much back for Robert Suarez. You'll get a prospect, right? But to trade away Cease or King, it does feel a little bit like, I'm not going to say punting on the season because you still have good pieces here, but you're not putting your best foot forward. I can tell you that.
Like, what's the adage here? Like, there's no path in a postseason without starting pitching. Now, okay, I saw the Dodgers too, like everyone else. They didn't have a ton of starting pitching this year. Their bullpen worked out beautifully on bullpen days. They rode like Yamamoto and Jack Flaherty kind of as their starters.
Walker
Buehler was in there. You're right.
In their bullpen.
Yeah, in their bullpen. So, okay, I get it. You don't have to have 5 legitimate frontline starters. There's other ways to do it, but
gotta get there first.
But the Padres, and also they only have 3. Cease, King, Darvish is all that's known. Now, I think there's some upside. The burritos, Vasquez's, Waldrons. There's upside. There probably is, but what you have is a known commodity. Is you got 3 guys, and to move one of those 3 guys, it better look really good on paper. You better be able to sell it too. Like, this is a business of selling and marketing. You've sold all these tickets. If you move Dylan Cease for 3 dudes we've never heard of that are 20 years old and playing in single and double A, man, I mean, you better be able to sell that. Like, it's marketing too. And I get it. Sometimes you got to move players. They moved Juan Soto. But you're going to move major league players every offseason. It's going to be a tougher and tougher sell. Not just major league players. Soto's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying that about King or Cease, but you're moving frontline players on your roster. Like, you're going to sell that to your fan base every offseason. That becomes tougher and tougher.
If you traded, we talked about this. I forget what day you were gone. I don't remember, but there was like a report out there that, the Orioles and Dylan Cease could be a good fit, and some prospects that might make sense.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would happen just because that's a lot for Dylan Cease for 1 year. He's not Juan Soto. Dylan Cease is a good pitcher. Don't get me wrong. Really good pitcher. When he's on his A game, dude's unhittable, literally. But the only way it makes sense is like, hey, can you get a couple prospects, 2 of them which are like basically almost major league ready? So then you can fill the multiple holes that you need to fill, like you did with Juan Soto. You're not going to get that level of talent back for Dylan Cease, but can you get a couple guys, like a back end of rotation starting pitcher, and maybe like a bat that was like major league ready, but that feels like a lot to me. And if you're not getting that, then why trade them?
Yeah, and again, it's like with baseball, it's hard because we're so regionalized. Like, I don't know anything about Brandon Sproat.
What a name.
But he's the top pitching prospect in their organization. The Mets I'm talking about, he might be amazing.
Do you have their top prospects?
Brandon Sproat.
Number 1?
Jet Williams.
That's our top 2 prospects?
I think I'm looking at the top 100, and they have 2, and those are their 2 in the top 100.
Okay.
So, I mean, listen, Brandon Sproat's on the all-name team,
He's a really good name.
and Jet Williams is on the all-name team, and they're both 20 or 20. No, excuse me, Sproat's 24, and Williams is 21. Listen, that's the thing with baseball. This isn't basketball or football. Like, if you told me right now, dude, that the Niners are trading for Caleb Williams, I know who Caleb Williams is, even out of college. I don't know Brandon Sproat. I didn't watch him pitch in college. So it's a weirder sell, but it may work. I don't know.
I have said this before. I continue to say it. AJ Preller is not going to get, quote unquote, fleeced in any of these deals. He draws a line in the sand, and he has an asking price. And if the asking price is not met, it's not going to happen. Remember back in the day, I don't know if you were here yet, maybe. They traded Brad Hand, a nice closer. Nice closer.
Was it 2017?
I think it was 2017. Maybe. I don't know.
I think it was 2017.
Brad Hand, all-star closer. Team sucked. But he traded him for Francisco Mejia. Francisco Mejia turned out to be nothing.
Catching prospect. Yeah.
But at the time, he was like a top prospect in the
in baseball
Cleveland organization.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, Francisco Mejia. It was a 1-for-1.
2 months of a closer.
For 2 months of a closer. So if Preller is pulling off those type of deals back in the day, and then, the Juan Soto trade, getting everything that he got back for Juan Soto. Now, in hindsight, you can say that was a lot. At the time, I was critical of it, like a pitcher and a bunch of whatever, right? But the pitcher turned out to be a damn good pitcher.
And pitching depth with Brito and Vasquez. Those could be starting pitchers.
And you flipped Thorpe for Cease. So it all looked great in the end. Can he do that with Cease or King? I don't know. And even if he can, I still am like, don't do it. Please don't do it. Please don't do it.
70470 started with team. Would you move Michael King or Dylan Cease? Plus Jim's back page here until 6. Jon and Jim.
This update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with the Aztecs. A great win last night, coming back from 21 points down to San Jose State. It was our largest come from behind victory since 2017. Next up, the Aztecs will take on Wyoming Saturday night at Viejas Arena, 5 p.m. tip, 4 p.m. pregame. Listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. In baseball news, Ha-Seong Kim signed a 2-year, $29 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. My Lowe's Rewards Week is coming, and it's kind of a big deal. Members get ready for up to 40% off store-wide on hundreds of items. Join for free today. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms, subject to change.
All right, you're going to hear from Jeff Passan if you missed it earlier on the State of the Padres organization. But I do want to remind everyone about the big event this Sunday.
Not the big game next.
No.
Not this Sunday, but the following Sunday.
Pro Bowl games, which will feature EA Sports Madden NFL 25 Challenge, Punt Perfect, the Great Football Race, and Tug of War. So you'll get all of that this Sunday in the Skills Challenge. So will that outrate the big game? I don't know if it will. Probably won't. I mean, can you imagine spending real money and going to this in Orlando? Like, oh man, I got to get there with my kids. They have Tug of War.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're not doing that. Jim's back page is ahead. You want to hear from Jeff Passan?
I do want to hear from Jeff Passan, your boy.
All right, so Jeff Passan, because we've heard people chime in on the state of the Padres organization. We hadn't heard from Jeff Passan. He was out talking baseball today on YouTube, and he had this to say.
There's just been no significant moves to get better.
Right.
And if you're the Padres and you're competing with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, you kind of need to get better. Isn't that what the postseason taught you? Like, you can't run it back with what you've got, particularly with some free agents leaving already. And the Padres are in a very unfortunate situation right now because they have got they're getting dinged a couple ways. They've got a nasty fight over ownership of the franchise, which is always the sort of thing that can destabilize the product on the field because, if you don't know where the future ownership is going to go, the likelihood of getting spending okayed is a whole lot lower. And they've also got Dylan Cease and Michael King going into their walk year with Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove, who's out right now, really being the lone holdovers in that rotation. You can look at Randy Vasquez as well or Matt Waldron, but in reality, those are more back end of the rotation type guys. When you're talking front end starters, Musgrove in his 30s, Darvish in his late 30s. Like this is not a group of pitchers that's getting any younger, and they've traded away so many of their top end guys, top end prospects that the notion that they are going to suddenly be bringing up this groundswell of pitching from the minor leagues, it's not realistic. And so the Padres, it's a real rock and a hard place right now for them.
One of the first things he said in there isn't it like, I forget the exact words, but it's like, hey, isn't the idea that you got to try to compete with the Dodgers and Diamondbacks, teams that are in front of you or, around you that are making moves to win in the postseason?
Yeah, he sounded like you. Isn't the point to try to keep up? Sometimes, though, we do separate it. We're like, well, you're not going to keep up with the Dodgers offseason moves.
No one is.
But you can at least keep up with yourself.
You kind of need to get better.
You kind of need to get better.
Kind of need to get better. And that's what we have been harping on the entire offseason, is that coming off of a 93-win year, as close as you were, you're 9 innings away from taking out the Dodgers for the second time in 3 years, moving on to the NLCS. And now it is you taking a perceived step backwards.
Perceived. That's the thing. I mean, it's actually beyond perceived because Profar's not coming back, and he was a big piece. As
Cespedes Barbecues pointed out, 32 or 34% of all their at-bats last year are not on the team right now.
So that would be Profar and Kim and Solano and Peralta. Yeah,
Higashioka.
You basically, you make a good point. I mean, you're down a third of your starters, let's just say. Profar, King, Kim, Higgy is a third of your position players.
Yeah.
You're starting lineup.
And Solano and Peralta got
and that's another half of you're down 3.5 out of 9 spots. And this is why we said they're now top heavy, and what happens after like the 4th spot in their lineup?
Yeah. And hey, look, if Jake Cronenworth and Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado and Luis Ariz and Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr. all played 155 games next year,
Great.
but the likelihood of that happening is not very high. And even if they did all play 85% of the games next year, what are you going to do with the other 15% on the field that you need to fill those spots when they need rest, or if they get injured, or, like an everyday shortstop is great, but you also need to make sure you have plan B, C, D ready to go. And right now, plan B, C, D are minor league invites.
I'm going to ask you a question, a serious question.
What are they going to do on June 13th versus the White Sox?
Let's break down every series, obviously.
We're not that show.
Here's what I want to say. Okay. First homestand. 4 against Atlanta, 3 against Cleveland. Okay. First road trip. No, it's 4-4.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Is that right? An 8-game homestand? No, 4-3.
Oh, must be nice.
And then 3 against the Cubs where it's going to be like snowing, right? And then 3 in Sacramento at like AAA Park.
Uh-huh.
So 13 games in.
13?
Because their first homestand, their first road trip.
Okay.
What are we going to be saying after those 13 games? Because my basic point is this. I still think they have, I don't think there's anything wrong with their roster. I don't think it's as good right now as it was last year. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's not. I don't think they're on pace. They're going to be projected to win 93 games, but I also don't think it's sky is falling. So, what are we going to be saying after the first homestand, the first road trip? I know what we're going to be saying.
Yeah.
The same thing we always say. Yeah. These games count just like the games in June.
Right.
6 and 7 isn't acceptable. We said it last year too. Right. So
it's the same song and dance every year.
Right. I don't think, my point is, despite this no good, horrible offseason, I'm not expecting 2-11 out of the gates. I have no reason to assume that.
Yeah, it would be very beneficial for them not to go 2-11 in the first 13
but
games.
I already know what we're going to be saying.
What I do think, unless they make moves, and look, there's still a good amount of time left before opening day, so moves can be made. But if not, I do think the overarching conversations that we'll have a lot will be like, man, this team got some holes.
Yeah, during the year, we could be saying that. Yeah.
Like, man, that the production you're getting from XYZ is just awful.
I mean, we say that. I know. You're right. I guess I'd just be like,
hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm cautious right now because I don't know what the finished product looks like. And I think even with some of their departures, they still have a good enough roster. Now, I don't know what that ultimately means, but I think it's good enough. I'd be very surprised if the Padres next year aren't competing for a playoff spot. I hope I'm right in saying that. I'd be surprised if they were just out of it. They're not competing for a playoff spot. That to me would be surprising. I mean, they got to go earn it and do it. But I don't think I'm at a point where I'm like, well, even though this offseason has been horrific, they now can't compete for a playoff spot. No, the offseason just been bad because you were so close and it doesn't feel like you've gotten closer. It just feels like you've gotten further away.
Yeah, the one thing that I feel good about is Mike Schilt and AJ Preller are like same page, brainwaves. They think
spirit animals,
like spirit animals, bro, spirit bros.
Yeah.
And so there's no drama there, which is like great, unless there is, but I don't know about. But at this moment in time, there's no drama between the two that we know of. So that's good. And coming into year 2 with Melvin, year 2 with Tingler, it was bad. Like players said, this guy to Jace Tingler, and then Melvin and Preller did not get along, and it trickled down to the clubhouse.
Right.
So with going into year 2 of another new manager who just got a contract extension, you're going in with him and the GM on the same page and being as positive as Schulte is. I don't envision this team winning like 72 games next year and like completely falling off a map unless they get a bunch of injuries.
Right. Like most things it's going to come down to like 2 games one way or 2 games the other, right? Is it 83 wins or is it 87? That's 2 off 85. Yeah. Plus 2 from 85 is 87. Minus 2 from 85 is 83. And that's likely what it comes down to in the upcoming season, as simple as that sounds. All right. Jim's back page on the other side here until 6. It's Jon and Jim. right, Jon and Jim with you. We're back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Aztec basketball Saturday against Wyoming. We'll have more giveaways for you tomorrow. I guarantee you there'll be a Padres story tomorrow. Because there just has been. There's something related to the Padres. We'll
Good
present
or
at some-
bad.
Yeah, something.
If when you're gone, they make like 3 moves.
If
They trade Michael King. They sign someone else. They trade trade for a pitcher.
It's fine.
Cancel your vacation.
Yeah, I mean, you can call me.
I'm praying for some.
You need to. I want the quietest week ever. Like just like the big story will be like Peoria Sports Complex to have new entrance signage.
No, see, here's the thing. I already know what Monday's show is going to be.
Pro Bowl games.
No, not Pro Bowl games. FanFest audio. So we get all the players talking.
That's good. I like it.
Kim got Monday's show in the bag. Tuesday,
Super Bowl stuff.
Tuesday, Super Bowl. We got Will Brinson joining the show. Great. Wednesday might be a little bit of a struggle. Hopefully we get some news.
Still Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then we get to Thursday, and we got Chris Hodge on the show. And we get to Friday, we got Cynthia Freeland to talk about the Super Bowl. We're good.
You could get Ben Fletcher or Sammy Long from the Fletch Zone.
Yeah, and Darnay's going to join the show. He just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Jim could just pretend he's you, and we'll get all the guests on that come on and talk to only Jon.
Hey, I'm Jon.
They don't know the difference anyways, apparently. So
you know what happens a lot outside VA House real quick before we get to back?
I know what you're going to say.
Everyone's always like, Jon and Jim, and it's always Fletch. Or everyone's always coming up to Fletch and be like, Jim, why did you say that like Profar sucks? It's like, I didn't.
We had a meeting with a program director from Seattle last week, and he even said, like, I listen to you guys, and
like you sound the same.
I can't tell sometimes which is which.
Do we really sound the same?
You have a way better voice than me.
Thank you. No, I don't think so. I just think we sound differently. I think we each sound different.
You're way more buttoned up than I am.
Oh, way more.
I stutter and trip over my words all the time and go,
we all do. I mean, we're different on social media.
Yeah, we are. Even though you cursed last night on social media, that was nice.
I did. When Miles Bird hit a 3, I said, holy beep.
Yep. I was like, oh, Jon cursed? Let's go.
I did. All right, back page time.
So big games in a week and a half.
Oh, it is a big one.
It's a huge game. Must win.
You're talking about Marquette or Marquette DePaul?
What do you have on your?
Oh, I was trying to watch UConn DePaul because DePaul had a lead, but I think it's on Peacock, which I have. But anyway, yeah, the big game. I know you're talking. I think you're talking more football.
Mm-hmm. Chipotle is celebrating the big game by giving away 50,000 free entries on Sunday, February 9th, whenever an extra play happens during the game.
What's an extra play?
I'm going to read you the stuff here, Jon. How to claim your free entree. During the game, Chipotle will drop a text to claim codes on their X account and their Instagram stories. To win, be one of the first to text a code to their number, 888-222, blah, 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 blah. Before all 50,000 are claimed. What counts as an extra play, you say?
Yeah.
Codes will be released for big moments like 4th down conversions, successful extra points, 2-point conversions, other plays Chipotle deems, quote, extra.
What was the game this year? There was a game this year that didn't have a touchdown. It was like a Monday night or Thursday night game.
Oh, it was the Bears Seattle Seahawks game, right?
Yeah,
that game sucked.
What if that game was the Super Bowl between the Eagles and the Chiefs?
Still, you get 120 people.
Oh, I mean, this is like people watching
because that was the Rams and Patriots game.
Oh my gosh, that game was so boring.
It's like 13 to 8 or something.
Yeah,
whatever. Wasn't great.
So 50,000 codes, though. I feel like those will fly on Super Bowl Sunday. Everyone does it right away.
Yeah,
you get the code. Boom, you want the free
50,000 codes. So
okay.
Anyway, be on the lookout for
Chipotle.
Your chance to win free Chipotle entrees. Starbucks, Jon, their CEO says they're cutting 30% of their menu.
I saw that. Why? Or what are they cutting? Is it different coffees or is it the food items?
Says the process to, quote, pare down the menu has already begun and will be completed by the end of 2025. The CEO did not say what items would be taken off the menu, and Starbucks did not immediately respond to the request for comment on Wednesday afternoon.
What's your
It's
reaction?
coffee.
It's coffee that's coming off?
Yeah, they got rid of coffee.
They're only going to do tea and
just tea and muffins.
Crimpets.
Tea and $7 blueberry muffins.
Right.
Yeah. So, look, at a coffee shop like Starbucks, do you need 70 items on the menu? Probably not. I think it's just, you could just, hey, here you go.
Know, but I like going in and I like seeing if they have like a snack. Do I need like the egg and cheese? Yeah, I do. I need the like spinach, feta, good for you item. Like I'm telling you, they're making a lot of money on that thing. So don't get rid of the spinach, feta, yummy breakfast sandwich.
Well, you can have like 2 yummy breakfast sandwiches. That's fine. Like I always look at In-N-Out's business model, and they got 3 items on the menu. They have a couple of secret menu items as well, but you don't need to make it complicated.
Do they really have 3 items?
Yeah, they got a cheeseburger, they got a double cheeseburger, and they got a
do they have a burger?
A burger. And then you can ask for like a protein burger or animal fries or animal burger or
animal fries meaning
there's more items on the secret menu than there is the actual
What's
menu.
the animal fry mean?
It's their
Thousand Island dressing.
Their Thousand Island dressing sauce.
Okay.
On the burger or on fries.
Okay.
So there you go there. Do you like Trader Joe's? I love me.
I do. I was in one today.
Oh, must be nice.
I was because I had a cavity filled and I went next door.
For what?
You want to see my cavity?
No, I don't.
It went from metal to non-metal.
Close your mouth.
Look how much metal is in there.
Look at mine.
Oh, you got some metal, dude.
I got some metal, bro. Yeah. Trader Joe's updated its product hall of fame, John. Products that consistently prove to be among the store's most popular.
Which are what?
Well, it just said they added a new item.
Which is?
Here are the items that are in the Trader Joe's Hall of Fame. Chili and lime flavored rolled corn tortilla chips, mandarin orange chicken, dark chocolate peanut butter cups, peanut butter filled pretzel nuggets, unexpected cheddar. I feel like you would like that.
Yeah.
And you'd also love this soy chorizo.
Yeah, really. I'd love that.
But the item that was just added to the list was mandarin orange chicken. That was the item.
Is it real chicken?
Yes, John.
Why do I ask?
It's chicken made out of oranges, John.
Well, they do something called like chicken, but it's not chicken.
I love Trader Joe's. Without Aaron, I would not know the greatness of Trader Joe's. So
really?
Shout out to my wife.
Shout out Aaron.
Shout out my wife.
Thanks for listening.
For introducing me to Trader Joe's and changing me.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks.
We appreciate you. All right. We're back tomorrow, 2 p.m. If you missed anything today, go to the iHeartRadio app or sportssd.com or on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn Radio as well. Do I have anything else to tell our listeners?
Find us on YouTube.
Yeah.
At Jon Jim 760.
Our audio there is good.
It's great. You won't be mad anymore.
I know. It's unbelievable. What's next?
Give us a subscribe and follow and like all our stuff.
For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay, bye.